doctors, workers, nurses, and everyone, but somewhere we forgot the farmers. Silently and quietly, our farmer kept producing the food during the COVID time. Here is a big round of applause to all the farmers, and I request everyone to clap for the farmers. Now I request all our esteemed guests and the founders to come on the stage. Mr. Narayan Murthy, founder Infosys. Dr. Angamuthu, IAS, the chairman of APIDA. Dr. Desh Deshpande and Dr. Jayashree Deshpande, co-founder of Deshpande Foundation. Dr. G.R. Chintala, former chairman of NABARD. Now I request Jnanada Deshpande, VP Partnerships of Deshpande Foundation, to welcome our chief guest.
We will keep it inside.
Now I request Jayashree ma'am to water the plant. Let's hope together that throughout this event, as an agriculture and a technology come together that will help to make the farmers' lives better and the prosperous. Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Dr. Desh Deshpande for the opening remarks.
Thank you. Ellarigu namaskara. Dear Murthy, Dr. Angamuthu, Dr. Chintala, Jayashree, all the distinguished guests here. You know, I think it's very heartwarming to see so many people come together and think about the welfare of the farmers. You know, my father, who is now 97, was born in a little village and very fond of farmers. Even though he went to Banaras Hindu University and became a government officer, he's never lost touch with the farmers. I grew up in cities, and so it's only last 15 years that I got connected to farmers. And so most of you in the audience here know a lot more about farmers and farming than I ever will. But let me share some of the experiences and the insights, because as you think about the solutions for the farmers, there are certain things that I've found which are very critical. You know, in business, no business can ever be successful without really understanding their customers. And that's the basic issue, I think, in this whole sector, in the whole social sector. You know, the policymakers, the lawmakers, the thinkers, the universities, the big companies, you know, they all work. They're all led by people who are very smart, who are very capable, but they don't relate that much to the customer base, the farmers that they try to serve. Because the farmers, you know, their standard of living is very different, their concerns are very different. And so the biggest problem in this whole social sector is the disconnect between competence and the connectedness. And so that's what I found to be the biggest issue in terms of coming up with solutions for these people. You know, when you talk about agriculture, people come up with all kinds of solutions. But the ability to innovate always means you have to be able to take a risk. Because anytime you do something different, it requires for some more resources, some more risk. There's a chance that it may not work. And those of us who have disposable income don't have any issue with it. Because if somebody says, hey, try this out, we can try it out. If it works, good. If it doesn't work, it's okay. But for the farmers who live on very little means, it's an existential risk. If it doesn't work, their life is on the line. And so any solutions that we come up with for the farming, for the agriculture, has to be bulletproof. We have to be able to guarantee the solution to them that if they do A, B, C, that it will absolutely work. And if it doesn't work, those who are recommending the solution will take responsibility for it. And so that level of rigor and the discipline that we need to bring to those solutions is very hard, And that's part of the reason why the Indian farmers are a little bit behind the productivity compared to the other farmers. Israel in the last 50 years, I think, has increased their productivity per acre by about 15 times. India is doing pretty good, but they're more like 3, 4, or maybe 5, some of them. So there's still a lot of potential for these farmers to increase their productivity and make a lot more from these smaller and smaller pieces of land that they have. And so we've been working at it, and it's a small effort compared to the effort that needs to go on. And we have fantastic organizations here who work very closely with the farmers. So all the comments that I made don't apply to the people in this room, because you guys have both the competence and the connectedness with the farmers. So we have about 1,000 people on the payroll in the Deshpande Foundation, working in Telangana and Karnataka. And we have a lot of campuses. We now have invested quite a bit in technology. And so I want all of you to look at that setup that we have as a living laboratory for any new ideas that you may have. If you have ideas, and if you have to test it out, and if you have to pilot it and see whether it's worth doing it or not, I think that platform is an excellent platform to start working with it. One idea that got generated about 10 years ago, 2013, if I remember, when Murthy and Ratan Tata had come to Hubli and for our development dialogue, which is the annual function. We're just having a conversation, and we said, hey, water is the biggest multiplier of income for farmers. What can we do about it? And so we came up with this idea, which is not a new idea. In fact, most of the solutions that you need to bring to the farmers are not really earth-shattering, fantastic, E is equal to MC squared type of ideas, but simple ideas, but to make them really workable. So Farm Pond is an idea that got generated in 2013 for our foundation, not like it was a new idea for the 5 machines and you can try it out. We did it for free for the farmer. We learned how to do it in 4 days, and also made sure that the farmer, in fact, makes a lot more income. And over the next 5 years, we did 6,000 of them, and where the farmer actually paid 75% and we paid 25%. And now we're on to a very large program, and announced that we're going to make today, together with HDFC Bank, SBI, and NABARD. So I'll save that announcement for a little bit later. But it's a solution where I think we feel very comfortable that if we make the farmer stick his neck out and put his hard-earned money into this program, that actually he will make a lot more money. And so taking the ideas that we have to a point where we just absolutely eliminate the risk for the farmer and bring about a solution, and then of course scaling it. When you want to scale these solutions, that's when the technology comes into play. So our technology team has actually built this Rural Transformation Technology Center in Hubli, where we track about 30 satellites and collect about 1 petabytes of data every month. And so together with this data, given any piece of land in India, we can recreate the history of that land for the last 12 years from a water perspective. So we know how much water fell, the way it flows, and if we do a farm pond, where should we ideally locate it? Will the farm pond get filled up? All these calculations can be done sitting.
Thank you, Desh. Now I request Dr. G.R. Chintala, former chairman of NABARD and the esteemed member of Deshpande Foundation's governing council, to set the contest.
Good morning to all. It's a privilege for me to be here. Since I was faculty before becoming chairman NABARD, generally we tend to speak a lot. So that's why I want to put a timer for myself. I was given a time of 20 minutes and I try to finish it within 18 minutes. Good morning once again to this Agriculture Day. And I feel it's a very great privilege to be sandwiched between two tech giants, Sri Deshpande ji and Sri Narayan Murthy ji, who preceded me in giving the address, and Narayan Murthy is there later. And these two people have changed the entire mindset of the country as to really how youth can become a very big source of enterprises, and how the software can really propel the country into a different kind of a league. And they created billions of dollars not only to the country, but also to the whole world and the prosperity of the people, because I could see many of the people, particularly from various villages, who had taken the engineering as a kind of a science and their degree, they all started earning in Indian rupees also millions, and sometimes in millions in the United States also. And that is how the entire prosperity has come to this nation. And I wish that these two philanthropic giants who are here will do the same thing to the agriculture, which is really looking for this kind of a messiahs. So once again, I am thankful to Sri Narayan Murthy ji, Sri Deshpande ji, Madam Jayashree, and Sri Angamuttu, and also the bankers Shantanu, Ramesh of NABARD, and also others, and also from Samunnati Anil, and many other people who are here. It's a very great time for all of us to reflect as to really what we can do to this country, particularly with regard to the agriculture, in this Amrit Kal. As Honorable Prime Minister has told, that is 75 years of independent India had come out with so many good things. But thing is, the coming 25 years, that is the Amrit Kal, is going to be the best time the country is about to see. Now, today, when our GDP is close to around $3 trillion or so, the anticipation is by 2047, when we finish the Amrit, we're going to reach the Amrit Kal, that is 100 years. The various estimates say that we will be somewhere between $26 trillion to $40 trillion. Now, if that is the thing, the prognosis of the economists and also the government and also everybody who is there in this kind of a field, I feel this bottom 50%, which comprises of farmers and the rural people, they have to contribute at least 40% to this kind of a growth. Now, the recent Oxfam study, which was presented in the Davos, they say that 55% of that bottom of the pyramid people has got only something around 10% or less than that wealth, while the remaining people have got, maybe 1% have got almost remaining 50%. So that itself is an indication really we have a lopsided. And why this kind of a lopsidedness is happening is because the fruits of this research, fruits of the entire development which we are taking, is yet to reach Bharat. Actually, it has reached India, but it has not reached Bharat. So that is where actually this Agriculture Day, which we are trying to put on this momentous occasion, is the one which we are going to reflect on this kind of a thing. So here I just would like to put a context, because why actually we want to do this kind of a seminar, because Deshpande Foundation is there for the past 1.5 decade, and they are doing yeoman service to this entire rural community. But at the same time, it's time for all of us to bring together every player in this field, to forge a link with every one of them so that actually the synergies can be worked out and we all can work together. Now, as chairman of NABARD, actually, which is a $100 billion bank, actually we have done quite a lot of work, and the bank is continuously, it is there in this kind of a rural engagement. And we have around 5,000 partners in the country, the NGOs and few other people. And despite doing all the things, I say that still a lot to be done. Now here I would like to put a little bit of a context as to why we should do country in 1950s and country in 2022. Actually in 1950s we were ship to mouth, producing hardly 50 million tons of food grains, hardly any fruits, and cotton was a very small quantity, and sugar was being imported, and everything was rationed. Now today, in the last 75 years, we made so much of a progress. Today we are producing 315 million tons of food grains, 340 million tons of fruits and vegetables, and close to around 31 to 32 million tons of sugar. And also we are producing ethanol from the sugar and other things. And also that we are very good in the milk. Actually, we are world's #1 in the milk production. And we are into that eggs, meat, and every kind of a thing. So how all these things have happened? The concerted efforts of various institutions that have worked. But with all these things, still, the farmer is still not rich. Farmer is still languishing. And the farm incomes are yet to see a very good kind of a hike as what has seen in a lot of work. So now, here I just like to say one thing, that is the entire Indian agriculture rests on a tripod. The first leg of this tripod is nothing but the research. Research was the domain of only the public sector institutions, while the private was having its own very small niche and all the things. But today I will say that this particular leg is getting strengthened with the new startups that are coming in the tech front. Actually now we have a thing, because in the entire agriculture, actually neither ICR nor NABARD nor anybody had classified the agriculture into so many verticals the way that right now it is being classified. Actually earlier we thought that it is maybe purely agronomy, falana and all those things. But today actually they classified the whole thing into kind of a 15 kind of a verticals in the way the lingo that they are talking about. Upstream technologies, midstream technologies and the downstream technologies. Upstream technologies deal with the genetics, the new seeds, new varieties, new technological innovations and everything, mechanization, IoTs, so many things that are coming to this one. While the midstream technologies are nothing but the logistics in a seamless fashion, the warehousing, the cold storages, spoilage, reducing the spoilage and doing so many things. While the downstream technologies are nothing but the ultimate consumer interface. It may be the food retailers, it may be the e-grocers, it may be any kind of a thing that is happening. So now, all these things are the developments that are happening only in the last 6 to 7 years. If I really look into the history of this one entire startups in agriculture, most of the agriculture startups have started only in 2014-15, because ever since the government started giving a kind of a boost to the startups. Today in the country we are having around 80,000 startups all across, of which close to around 2.5 to 3,000 are in agriculture, of which 500 to 600 have got some kind of a funding or other. That itself is a reflection. Actually now the investors are looking to this agriculture. And why the agriculture has to be done? Because agriculture is the largest private enterprise in the country and also in the world, Indian agriculture, which involves close to around 140 million entrepreneurs. You call the farmer an entrepreneur because he is the most private entrepreneur the world had ever seen, because he puts his own money and he takes all the risks with regard to the weather, with regard to the pest, with regard to everything, and ultimately he is at the mercy of the market to realize his things. So now, this particular private enterprise, which comprises around $4 to $4.5 billion as a kind of a that is venture investment. And so now, they are at various stages. They are trying to address the problems as what Deshji was telling, understanding the farmer's problem. trying to create solution for that problem and trying to proliferate this kind of a solution to various people who are at the far-flung areas, so that actually we can really increase the productivity and everything. So now that is where actually the kind of synergies are required among the players. So the players are, first thing is the research institutions, second thing is this kind of entrepreneurs who are starting the startups, and third one is the financial institutions, fourth one is the government agencies which are doing the ecosystem building, and fifth one is a kind of a finance that is required, because I'm not telling, because whether it is angel investors, venture capitalists, venture debt people, or the banking system and also the NBFCs, where they have to give money for this kind of a value chain financing. Because today, the entire agriculture, if you look into it, the farmer gets only around 20 to 25% of that ultimate consumer price, and in between, the 75% is taken by almost around 6 to 8 intermediaries. I am not discounting the merit of the intermediaries, but at the same time, if intermediaries are there, actually, that they should not pocket 75%, making the farmer poor. So the entire endeavor of this value chain, which we are all talking about, is nothing but giving at least 60 to 70% of the consumer price to the farmer, so that farmer is also prosperous and he will continue to stay put in that agriculture. And that is where actually now we need to have policies, products which will have this kind of a sensitivity to the farmer's interests. Now actually I was talking to somebody last night, I say that now that climate smart agriculture, everybody talks about, but very few people understand. And at the same time, do we have the banking products which will tackle this or not? Now take the case of farming community as a whole. Actually in 1970s, if you look at the statistics, the average Indian land holding was close to around 10 acres. Today, the average land holding is around 1.5 to 2 acres. So now, with this fragmented land, you cannot operate bigger machines, and he cannot get the loans also on this kind of a small holding. So now we need to have a kind of a collectivization of these farmers. And that is where actually I wish that the Uberization or collectivization is the solution for this one. So now, when on one hand we are trying to look into the systems of creating the moisture security, but the next step is put a kind of a collectivized farmers on this one, so that actually the entire resource, that natural resource that has been accumulated, will be tapped by the people and entire thing. And the second thing is what this collectivization of the FPOs will do. That is having 500, 1,000, 2,000 farmers in one particular kind of a group, they will have a kind of a critical mass where they can negotiate for the inputs at a lesser cost. We have seen in many of the FPOs, actually they are getting inputs at 30% less cost, and that itself is a profit. Then again, they are able to negotiate with the people who are buying the produce by having a little higher price. So now actually that our studies indicate that close to around 40 to 60% is the benefit the farmers are getting out of the collectives. Then the next step is, can we stop these collectives at just producing the raw material and supplying it as a commodity, or should they go into kind of a processing so that actually that they will have that entire benefit of the value addition? If you look into this one, if the entire Indian gross value added is around $500 billion of agriculture, if you do the value addition, probably it may go much higher, and entire thing can get passed on to the farmers. So that is where this new kind of an enterprises, the startups, have to work on this one. And here I will say that why the ecosystem building? Because now I had seen, because NABARD itself is a very big ecosystem builder, but thing is, having come out of the system, now I will say that who are the other players who are doing the ecosystem building. And I found that Deshpande Foundation has done a great job, particularly in building that kind of an ecosystem. Because I had seen actually that you just go to their Hubli center and you will find a flurry of activities, because some incubator is working on something and somebody is doing something else, and some vertical is working on a kind of a food processing clusters, encouraging the self-help groups to start their own kind of a food processing. and so many other things are happening. So now the time has come for us to look into this kind of ecosystem building, and if one Deshpande Foundation can do a bit of it in kind of ecosystem building, can all of us join together to make this a kind of a very big enterprise? So that is where this particular agriculture day, when I just happened to be there with Deshpandeji, Gururaj Deshpandeji, so every time I used to tell, actually now we are doing enough, but thing is, the people also should come along, because if you want to walk far, actually something there is, that maybe you can walk alone, but if you want to walk far, actually that you should have people together, and that is where I feel that now we should have a kind of a collaborative approach with this kind of a thing. So now, having a kind of a setup which they have put in this Bangalore, now actually it's very easy for this foundation to connect to everyone. And so now the entire things that are there in the ecosystem, wherever it is, actually that can be funneled, and the entire thing can be sent to the kind of a designing table at the Deshpande Foundation in Hubli, and so that actually we can come out with a solution. So now I feel it's not one foundation, actually we need to have so many foundations, but at the same time it's very difficult to find the money also. So now I'm extremely happy that the founders spend their own money without expecting anything from this one, and that itself is a beauty of this foundation. And maybe around $400 to $500 billion. By 2047, it should be minimum $1 or $2 trillion. If that is the case, really, we should do much more than what we have done. And that is the intention of this one. And my time is over, so now I am once again thankful to the organizers, to the audience, and to everyone for giving me this opportunity. Thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. We are very fortunate to have Narayan Murthy sir as today's chief guest for the event. Now I request Narayan Murthy sir for the keynote address.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನನಗೆ ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅಭ್ಯಾಸ ಇಲ್ಲ ಮತ್ತು ಧೈರ್ಯವೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ನಾನು ಆಂಗ್ಲ ಭಾಷೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ದೇಶಪಾಂಡೆ, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಚಿತ್ತಾಲ, Jayashree, other distinguished people on the dais and in the audience, agriculturalists, the extraordinary team of Deshpande Foundation, and guests. It is a great pleasure and a privilege to be here today. There are two reasons why I am very happy today. The first is my belief that a small percentage of competent Indians should go abroad, excel there, become model citizens of whatever society they choose, raise the image of India, and keep a part of their, of course, his family, have added significant value to India through their seminal work in improving the lives of the low-income people and agriculturists, that's farmers, in North Karnataka and other parts of India. We should all be very grateful to people like him he is a good role model for all of us, including the non-resident Indians. The topic of this seminar is improving agriculture using technology. As a technologist or a former technologist, I believe that this seminar is timely and very important. Dr. Swaminathan, his team, and the Indian Agricultural Research Institute in Delhi have added much value to bring in the green revolution to our country, and they transformed our country from a net importer of agricultural products to a net exporter. Dr. Chintala has given very good statistics on how we have indeed become the net exporters. Dr. Deshpande Foundation and this conference is the place to build on this strong foundation. What would be my vision for Indian agricultural system? India's per capita GDP was about 1.5 lakhs rupees per year in 2021. Agriculture contributes about 20% of our GDP. I'm deliberately taking a slightly higher figure than what most people believe. And it employs about 40% of our people directly or indirectly. Again, I'm deliberately taking a slightly lower percentage. Therefore, the per capita GDP of an agricultural worker in India is about 75,000 rupees per year, or about 50% of India's per capita GDP. In other words, approximately it's about 6,000 rupees per month. My vision would be to raise this to at least equal to per capita GDP of India in the next 5 years. If we can do that, then I think we'd have done a very good job. That requires two things. One, obviously moving people from agriculture to low-tech manufacturing, like some other countries have done in Asia. And number two, improving the agricultural productivity using technology. I want the children and families of an agricultural worker to have decent access to education, healthcare, nutrition, and shelter. This can be done. After all, Dr. Swaminathan has showed that it was possible for India to become a net surplus nation in agriculture. But that task requires us to embrace technology in a big way and bring the power of modern ideas to make the life of farmers and farm workers comfortable and better. That growth, reducing cost, improving productivity, increasing or improving health, comfort and joy, and increasing safety. Agriculture is an ideal application of technology. The objectives of using technology in agriculture would be, in addition to the above, minimization and reuse of water and fertilizers, particularly in India's context, predicting and taking timely action to prevent droughts and floods, increasing sustainability and green methods in agriculture, understanding and improving the economics of agriculture. Dr. Chintala spoke about how the farmer gets only 25% of the final sale price, and the rest going to the chain of intermediaries in the chain. So therefore, if we can use technology and simulation to understand the economics of agriculture from its production to the delivery in the hands of consumers, and then see where there are opportunities for optimizing, then I do believe that we will create a situation that is fairer to our farmers than what it is today. It is about, technology is about better soil management and crop rotation. It is about optimal harvesting of crops. It can be used for revitalization of soil, for better waste management, and recycling of purified wastewater. In fact, at all our campuses in Infosys, we use the wastewater from toilets and bath. We purify it and then reuse it for our lawns and for our toilets and other purposes. There are umpteen technologies available, including computer modeling, artificial intelligence, IoT, as Dr. Chintala mentioned. Of course, you have all seen drone technology, there's so much of it. Other kinds of machinery, desalination and other purification technologies, and of course, technologies for leveraging renewable energy sources. There are many, many more. I'm not an agriculturist, but surely, the experts will show to us many other uses of technology. I would request our experts in agriculture to establish working relationships and working arrangements with IARI, that Indian Agricultural Research Institute, Institute of Science, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, IITs, and other higher educational institutions, including the agricultural universities that are there in every state, and bring the power of technologies to our farmers. You may also consider information sharing arrangements with research institutes in agriculture in Israel, the US, Europe, Philippines, Singapore, and Australia, just to name a few. I believe we will benefit much from such collaborations. While technology helps us much, we must be much more careful in our consumption of water. 28 million cubic meters used the use of water by a factor of 5. That's a great achievement, because remember that the population would have grown in between by probably 20%, particularly in a country like in Israel, which is inviting people from all parts of the world, Jewish people from all parts of the world, that, in other words, increase population but reduce water to the extent of just 20% to satisfy the needs of this agricultural, they satisfy the needs of these people. This includes agriculture, drinking water, toilets, everything, all that stuff. At the same time, as Dr. Deshpande spoke about, the agricultural productivity is somewhere around 15 times that of India. While we may have gone up by a factor of 5, as Dr. Chintala pointed out, but we still have a certain headroom for us to go and improve. One of the things that Israel has done is to build ponds, water ponds, like Deshpande Foundation has done in North Karnataka. I once again salute Deshpande Foundation for its...
I request Desh sir to announce that, and also NABARD to coordinate for the announcement and for the photography.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We heard great comments from Dr. Chintala and Murthy. And I think what I'm going to announce today is just a possibility of what can come together when all of us work together. You know, this farm pond, where you dig a hole that's 100 feet by 100 feet by 12 feet and let the rainwater fill the tank, and then you can use it year round and irrigate about 5 acres of land, and you can double the income, and you can get even more if you use drip and cultivate other crops and so on. So I think it's a great example of how, when a lot of people come together, we in fact can increase the income of the farmers. So similarly, I'm sure there's a lot of other projects that we can all work on together. But this program, we've done 7,000 so far. We're doing 8,000 this year. And I'm very pleased that all of our partners are coming together, because this is not a job for any one organization. And this new initiative, I think all these people are taking equal charge of it. And so I'm very pleased to announce that NABARD, State Bank of India, and HDFC have all come together, and they're giving so NABARD is providing all the expertise in terms of how to bring the farmers together, form the joint liability groups and so on. And of course, SBI and HDFC are coming up with crores and crores of money to loan to the farmers, because I think I know our dear friend C.K. Prahlad always used to talk about fortune at the bottom of the pyramid. I find that there's probably not a lot of fortune at the bottom of the pyramid, but if we follow his principles of implementing a free market economy, for whatever little money that we put in, we can scale that impact enormously. So, for example, a farm pond, a typical farm pond, 100 feet by 100 feet, costs about $1 lakh, out of which the farmer pays about $20,000 upfront, and the remaining $80,000 actually comes in the form of a loan from the banks, from HDFC and SBI. And NABARD helps us put these groups together, and then over the course of a year or 2 years, the farmer pays back. So in addition to having a farm pond and additional income, he now also has a credit line. so that he can borrow more money for other things. And our goal collectively is to have zero default from the farmers. And so we're looking forward to that. In addition to that, of course, we have to spend a lot more money to manage that overall program and to also train and educate the farmers in terms of making better use of that water so that he can make even more money. And so we have a lot of sponsors also who are very much a part of this overall program. So Dhanada, I know you want to take it over from here. So
Yes, thank you, Desh. So this 100,000 farm pond announcement, we want to make it as an inspirational and motivational moment for all of us. And many hands have joined us in creating this on the ground. So I invite all of you on the stage. Let's capture this moment, and it will keep inspiring us. So in the presence of Narayan Murthy ji and Dr. Angamuthu, Dr. Chintala, Desh and Jayashri, I invite our partners, T. Ramesh of NABARD, Mr. Shantanu Penseji from SBI, HDFC's Yogesh and Mr. Patil are here. I invite them. And on the ground, working extremely hard. Please give them a hand, please. CV, please. And we'll quickly take... Shruti? Yes, please. Yes. Yeah, Ben? Sneha. After this, I request T. Ramesh. He is going to make a presentation on the farm pond and how the farm pond actually is developing. Since the presentation is on the screen, I request our guests to kind of be in the audience first.
Please here. Respected dignitaries, a very good morning to all of you. And first of all, I'm really humbled by this opportunity which has been given, which I deem it as my privilege and honor. In fact, before I start the presentation about this farm pond, I would like to just brief only about 2 minutes about our institution. National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, which is the Apex Development Bank of India for Agriculture and Rural Development, was started in the year 1982 by an act of parliament. We began the journey of this rural development, agriculture and rural development, with a business of around 4,800 crores way back in 1982. We have traversed a long distance, and today at close to around 8 lakh crores. And our initiatives have touched crores of lives across the country. Like our former chairman, Dr. Chintala indicated, our association with the Deshpande Foundation has been almost close to 1.5 decades. Right from the inception of Deshpande Foundation, we have been walking the path with the Deshpande Foundation. And in fact, has clearly mentioned, in fact, he has made my task very simple. whatever he has talked, I am just going to show in the form of a pictorial representation, which I am sure all of you will appreciate. I think we have a lot of technology people who have come here. Probably your role will start after these form points are taken up. I think can somebody help? Yeah. So, like Mr. Deshpande was mentioning, this is an association which we started about 4 years back. NABARD has been promoting a lot of livelihoods opportunities in the rural areas. One of the big program which NABARD launched was self-help group. In fact, reaching the unreached, that was the call we had made. And what we started with a pilot project of 500 SHGs way back in 1995, we mainstreamed into the banking system, and today we have close to around more than 1 crore SHGs having about 60,000 crores of savings in their account and leveraging a credit of more than 1 lakh crores across the banking system in the leveraging a credit of more than 1 lakh crores across the banking system in the country. But we realized down the lane about 15 years, we realized it is not only the women who need to be supported, but there are farmers owning less than 4 acres or less than 2 acres of land who are not able to leverage credit from the banking system. And that is where we started the program of joint liability groups, where 4 to 5 or maybe 4 to 10 the farmers who are joined together to form into a joint liability group who offer their mutual collaterals, like mutual whatever the loan which they are accessing from the banking system. Each farmer will stand as a collateral for the loans taken by the other members, and finally all of them will be able to access credit from the banking system. And in fact, the Reserve Bank of India has issued the banks to finance this joint liability groups. That is where when we started, because semi-arid regions of North Karnataka requires water. And there is abundant rainfall. When we compare with Israel, definitely the rainfall in North Karnataka is not at all deficient. We decided, why not we capture this in the farmers' field where we can definitely make an impact on the livelihoods of the farmers. And that's where we associated with Deshpande Foundation on one side for forming these joint liability groups, wherein we had an incentive given where the farmers will be joined together, maybe 4, 5, or maybe 10 farmers will come together in the form of a joint liability group, for which incentive was given to the banking system. Like we had enrolled the State Bank of India, we had partnered with State Bank of India here, wherein the State Bank of India will take the help of Deshpande Foundation, their committed workers, for forming the groups in the Navalgund, I think it is in Navalgund and Nargund areas, where the groups will be formed, and the NABARD will be incentivizing the bank for formation of this group, monitoring of this group, and credit linkage. And the entire idea was that you form something around 1,000 JLGs, and these 1,000 JLGs will be able to do 10,000 farm ponds over a period of 2 to 3 years. And in fact, next slide, I think. Yeah. So, like they said, the technology has been used to a great extent in identifying the pond and the best place where the pond can be located, and the farm pond size of 100 by 112 feet. In fact, this is enabling the farmer to close to 33.5 lakh liters of water can be stored in this one farm pond. Here I would like to just narrate my personal experience. In fact, earlier when we used to travel from Bangalore to Dharwad, Hubli airport, we always used to find a dark cotton soil staring at you when you sit next to a window. But today, many of you will definitely notice when you are traveling, you will find a streaks of sunlight striking you. That is the sunlight which is coming from these farm ponds which have been created. About 8,000 farm ponds have been created. Maybe the grand vision of Deshpande Foundation that we are going to have 1 lakh ponds in this region, maybe in this region and across the state also, neighboring states. Definitely it can be a real game changer for the farming community, because each farm pond storing 33 lakh water, and already we have 7,000 farm pond, which is equivalent to a mini dam, I can say. And with 1 lakh farm ponds, with each pond storing 33 lakh, can be equivalent to a very big, I can say, a mega dam, and with zero wastage of water. That is what is going to be a game changer in the years to come. And this is what the impact we have seen. Like they said, it's about 1 lakh. Right now, when we conceived the project, it was around 80,000, and today it is about 1 lakh, which the farmers have been able to get about 20,000 margin, and about 60 or 70,000 loan is being given by State Bank of India. The next slide, please. And this is where we have developed a convergence with various activities which NABARD is doing. In fact, NABARD is one of the front runner, or we can say we were the ones who propagated this farm producers organization. And we have this Kalmeshwara FPO, who have taken up this task of building the farm ponds for the farmers, because farmer on his own will not be able to build. So that is where we have brought this convergence, where the FPO will go around. The Rural Transformation Technology Center of Deshpande Foundation will give the ideal location. Once they identify 2 or 3 farmers in the nearby vicinity, the Kalmeshwara FPO takes over the task of building the farm pond, and the farmer will have to just access the credit, give his margin money, and the pond is ready in a matter of a week or a 10 days time maximum. And these are all coincided in such a fashion that the pond building takes collected immediately after the pond is constructed. And SBI, I think I should I really appreciate the role taken by SBI. In fact, they have identified the farmers were facing the problem earlier. Getting access to credit was something which the farmers had always been facing, and this is where SBI decided that they will have a nodal branch which will immediately sanction the loan. I think I should really appreciate the gesture which SBI has done in this. The results, next slide please. The results, what it has shown in this, maybe we have around 2-3 years of this farm pond experience we have seen. The beautiful results, what we have seen is the farmers have been able to shift from monocropping to multiple cropping. In fact, some of the farmers, which I myself, along with our former chairman and Deshpande sir, when we visited the villages and interacted with the farmers, they almost had, they were so much happy and they had tears in their eyes. They said, we were at the mercy of rains every year. Year after year, in the last 4 generations, 5 generations, we do not know, 40, 50 years, the farmers of 60, 70 years when we interacted, they said, what we had at the mercy of rain, today we are having water, so much water that we are able to spare this water to the neighboring farmers also. And they have been able to improve their income. What was there, about 60 or 70,000 in about 4 or 5 acres of land. Today it has jumped to around 2 lakh to plus, 2 lakh or maybe 2 lakh 70. One farmer said he has done 4 lakh also, because he has not only done the field crops but also vegetables in the residual moisture. So he was able to get around 4 lakh to 4 lakh 30,000 income. And the beauty of it, sir, not that farmers were happy that they got this income. They decided to pay back this loan. About 25% of the farmers, they decided to pay back this loan to the banking system and decided, yes, I have water, but I'm finding it difficult to lift the water from the pond and use it in my field. So why not I access the bank with the water lifting devices? So they are approaching the banks for a higher quantum of loan. And I think this is what is the good point which we need to see. The next slide, please. That is what I have already explained. Now, seeing this, in fact, we have been propagating this concept in many forums, sir. Not only with the forums like this, but also with the government. In fact, yesterday we had a state credit seminar which was attended by Additional Chief Secretary and the Development Commissioner. And in fact, I made this point that this is what is the need of the hour, because the construction of the big dams take a long time, and the command area is one of the weakest area in the country. There is a need, a lot of water being, leakage of water is there, and the tail-end farmers are not getting the water. But this can be a very good lesson in those, not only in the command areas, but also in other areas, which can make a change in the livelihoods of the farmers. In fact, they have evinced a very keen interest, and they have decided that they would definitely go ahead with this sort of project. Having said this, in fact, I have shared this experience with the bankers forum also, and in fact, many of the other bankers were saying, why only NABARD has entered agreement with SBI? Why not with others? Immediately we offered, we are ready to open dialogue with others, and I think today I'm happy to see HDFC Bank with us, with Deshpande Foundation and work in Karnataka, sir. They have also evinced a lot of interest, and they are going and Deshpande Foundation maybe another month's time. So it's already on the final stages. So we'll be entering MOU with them also. So I'm sure the project which Deshpande Foundation has visualized can be a game changer for the entire, not only for the arid regions of North Karnataka, but also the other parts of the country like southern Maharashtra and maybe the western parts of the Andhra Pradesh. I'm sure the vision taken by Deshpande Foundation will be a very yeoman one for the farming community in the country. And I think I would stop here. My 10 minutes is over. So I would like to thank Deshpande Foundation for having given this opportunity for us to share this experience of NABARD with Deshpande Foundation. But only I just call upon the tech people who are here. I think now we have shown the way. There is a need for a lot of other interventions to be taken forward in this field. Maybe I was just seeing outside this exhibition, a lot of innovations are happening in the agriculture field. Maybe some of these people need to involve in this project to see how we can better the value for the farming community. Be it the soil management, maybe water management. A lot of water is there. Farmers are again wasting a lot of water. How we can save that water and give it to the other farmers, maybe at the cost of a small fees or something like that. Maybe the nutrient management or the better marketing of the produce what the farmers are getting. Because again, we have also examined, we have also seen that some of the farmers who got a higher produce are at the mercy of the traders. That's where Narayan Murthy sir clearly said how we can establish linkages with the market. Maybe these are the areas which I think the other people who are tech people who are here can definitely move forward and add value to this project. Okay, thank you to all.
Thank you, Ramesh sir. Now I request Dr. Angamuthu, IAS, Chairman of APIDA, to guide us on the plenary notes.
Thank you. First of all, my compliments to Deshpande Foundation for this wonderful event and the concept wherein we are discussing and we are participating. It's an amazing one, something which is scalable and replicable, and I think one of the most successful technology where we can introduce to other parts of the country also. So APEDA, we from APEDA, Agriculture and Processed Food Product Export Development Authority under Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, we intend to collaborate with Deshpande Foundation for promotion of this technology and for the promotion of the product, both outcome as well as output based on this technology. We intend to promote elsewhere in the world also. And my sincere compliments to NABARD, SBI, HDFC, and other stakeholders, those who are part and parcel of this event and this revolutionary momentum. Because in India, respected dignitaries like Dr. Narayan Murthy, Dr. Chintala, and Dr. Gururaj Deshpande, they spoke about many things about agriculture, how the sector is transforming, what kind of changes are happening, and what kind of that bubble. Agriculture used to be a bubble which was about to be burst some time back, but it's already burst. And what we are doing now is something different. And if you happen to see, based on the technology, I was explaining to Dr. Narayan Murthy, because of the technology, the enhancing income of farmers is going to be possible only because of technology. Without technology, without support from all of you, enhancing income of farmers, it's difficult. And let me be honest with you, farmers' income are increasing day by day. Gone are the days like farmers used to be hand to mouth, their sustenance used to be tough, but nowadays things are changing. They are getting a decent income. And let me be honest with you, they are participating in kind of cultivation wherein even export also factored. They never used to think about export and all. Nowadays, they are producing product where we can take care of, like an export market, that to developed countries market. Our Indian export last year touched, almost 50 billion USD. Okay. And 50 billion USD, if you happen to, trifurcate or divide the product range, 60% of our product is going to, almost 60 plus number of, developed countries. And we are the single largest and most reliable food and nutritional security provider to at least 50 plus number of countries. I can vouch and say that 50 plus number of countries, we are taking care of their food and basic food and nutritional needs, be it rice, be it wheat, be it pulses, be it any kind of fruits and horticulture product, even in organic market. Last year we have touched 1 billion plus. And our organic product, we Indians, we don't produce just wheat and rice. Now we are diversifying our Indian agriculture system in such a manner that 700 plus number of product ranges which are going outside the country and which has a very good value and other things are happening in the system. In the world, we, India, consider to be the most important supplier in terms of agri products. And gone are the days we used to send only raw material. Nowadays we are sending value added and processed food product. Almost like 30%, 35% of our total export we are sending value added and agriculture processed product. And today this context, I just want to give one parallel. If you want to improve our performance in terms of agriculture, be it for a local domestic purpose or for export purpose, we need quality product. Quality can be possible only with the help of better technologies. And with the better technologies, we have to infuse better technology in both production and value system. I must see this type of context, introduction of, farm ponds and other things. It's not just only, introduction of farm ponds. The farm ponds, we have to see, in terms of, there are so many contexts are here, like joint liability group and creation of asset, permanent asset, saving rain, and taking care of even neighboring farmers. The presentation by CGM, he spoke about, excess water, still people are wasting water, we should take care of, even neighboring farmers also. So, sharing the resources, because for us, these resources are very, very important and valuable resources. So this resource need to be shared so that farmers can take care of themselves. So if you happen to see this type of things, this is a very holistic, and we have to percolate this type of context to elsewhere in the world also. But India type of place, I feel Indians also need quality food product. Indian also need, a quality agriculture product. Perhaps, like this experiment was going on in, northern Karnataka, part of Telangana, and I was told, part of Maharashtra and all. This technology is a kind of a boon for all of us. We can, take care of not only our farmers, we can take care of our production and productivity also. Because we have a good technology. Dr. Chintala and Dr. Narayan Murthy and Guruji, they spoke about whatever available technology and all. We have a many technology. Our Indian agriculture system is so robust. You name anything, we have. But only thing, the percolation at the field level, at the farm level, there is a little bit of gap somewhere, something. And these activities, like the formation of JLG and involving banks, involving, institution like the Deshpande Foundation, that gap will be bridged by this type of initiatives. So I must compliment entire team from Deshpande Foundation to, NABARD and SBI and all for doing this wonderful work. And here, I like to compliment only one thing. We from Government of India, under the Honorable Prime Minister's dynamic leadership, we intend to promote agriculture and food product to next level. And gone are the days. Now, if you happen to see, last year, we exported almost 100 plus number of our India's GI product. Okay. GI product from almost all over the country. We send even, like from Karnataka also, many number of product we send, right? And there is a scope there is a scope to improve, there is a scope, there is a reception, there is a good reception for our GA product. Some of our product, in the air, okay. And to reach top 5 position, perhaps the initiatives like what Deshpande Foundation is doing, it will be of, synergize our value chain. It will synergize our production as well as supply chain, because we need a good production as well as supply thing to take care of, our value chain. So this will help us, right? And if you happen to see our product range, we are now from, normal casual raw material to, like a processed food to value-added food to GA product to now we are promoting natural product also. We are promoting product being sourced from Ganges Valley, product being sourced from Brahmaputra Valley, product being sourced from Kaveri. So we are giving tagline to our product so that, we will have a niche market, because we want to identify our product with our production center, right? So like our days are, going to be very bright, and our future going to be very strong, and our farmers are going to get definitely a good support from all these stakeholders. And we intend, from our APEDA side, we like to support and we like to work with institutions like Deshpande Foundation, and we like to forge a MOU also. So I request my APEDA Bangalore team, please, Dr. Ravindra is here, please work with the Deshpande Foundation, and let's come up with a MOU so that whatever surplus product they are sourcing, whatever maybe in the form of a pulses or oil seed or whatever other product range, horticulture product or any kind of nature, we will export. We will give a good tagline also, and we will ensure that farmers will get a decent and better income in the days to come. Okay. Once again, my compliments to entire team for organizing this event and inviting us to this program, and my sincere wishes to all of you. And we will work together, and we are with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now we will move to the panel discussion 1, Impact of Technology in Agriculture, which is moderated by Jnanada Deshpande. And I would like to request all the panelists to come on the stage. Suchitra Balasubramanian, co-founder Nanopix, and Satkumar Tomar, co-founder Satyukt Analytics, Lalitesh Katragada, founder IndieHood, Raj Vallabhnene, director Kalgudi, and Venkatraman R, founder Agribusiness Matters.
So, hi. So we planned this conversation with founders of different kinds of agri-tech companies. And we have with us today, let me introduce all of them. Their names are here. But good to have you on our panel on impact of technology on agriculture, which is a very high rubric kind of we have taken. But under that, we are going to discuss with Raj Vallabhnene, founder of Kalgudi. Welcome. We have Venki Ramachandran, Agribusiness Matters. He creates that newsletter, and he's also an expert of the field. We have Lalitesh Katragada of IndieFarm. We have Satkumar Tomar Dr. Satkumar Tomar of Satyukt. And we have with us Suchitra Balasubramanian. She's the co-founder of Nanopix. We are very proud of Nanopix being incubated in our Hubli sandbox. In 2008, 2006, when I came to Pune, and I attended a farmers' conference, and it was led by Sharad Joshi. And without evoking the kind of towering personality of Sharad Joshi, I cannot start this conversation Because what we are doing today, Joshi Sahib, as he was fondly called, he used to say that this is the kind of future. The market-facing agriculture is the way to go, way forward. And that cannot happen unless what farmers are doing on the ground get linked and scaled up with technology and gets value added. So this is the conversation we are going to have. How this entire technology is going to actually help farmers, or is it going to create another layer between the farmers and the market and their produce and productivity? Is it going to really does it have the hope to help the farmers? And this is the kind of conversation we are going to have today. I'll start with Suchitra, of course, because in NanoPix, they have implemented the technology that actually impacts the cashew growers and farmers. Suchitra, can you tell us about
industry? In fact, it is a very unique industry for the machinery for the world, and we have 1,200 plus units around 10 plus countries. We have 50 plus percentage of market share in India and 35% global market share for the cashew industry. Now we also kept our baby steps in walnut and almond industry this year. So that is all about us. We have been quite impactful in the cashew industry because we have been able to create a significant value difference in the grading sector, which is of the cashew industry, which is the value differentiation for the cashew.
Thank you so much. Dr. Kotomar, most of all these conversations, besides Raj, who represents a kind of a marketplace through Kalgodi, are going to help farmers when they are on the farm. And your tech at Satyukt has multiple layers in it. Could you tell us how you connected with the technology and the farmers, and what is the uptake, where are the gaps, how do you see it?
See, briefly to tell, what we do is, see, like we were discussing in the, earlier discussion, we use a lot of water, and the agriculture is the measure, usage of water, maybe about 90%. Irrigation efficiency in India might be about just, 30-35%. So we need 1 liter of water, we are wasting 2 liters of water. And why this is happening? Because there is no mechanism where you can measure the soil moisture. There are some solutions like, you can put sensor, but which are very costly, because like, many mentioned, average land holding in India is about 1 to 2 acres. So these farmers cannot afford the solutions. You look at the soil testing, there are many things, So what we try to do as a company, we use satellite remote sensing data, where data is free. We develop the algorithm, and so there is only processing cost. And at very affordable rate, we provide it to the farmer. So pricing is about 100 rupees per acre per month, which is very, very affordable compared to IoT sensor. So now farmer can see how much moisture they have, how much they need to irrigate.
But what is your technology where the farmers are, how do you communicate
Mobile
whether
app.
it is to
So
the
it's
mobile
a
app?
mobile app. Farmer need to download the mobile app. We process all the data, and through the cloud server, the data gets to the mobile app, and farmer can see. And the information is provided 10 meter by 10 meter, approximately 1 gunta. So even if farmer has 1 acre of farm, they get 40 values. So they can see within the farm also what is happening. So even if the farmer has, very small land, they can also use. You look at the soil testing, we don't have good infrastructure, for soil testing in India. You need to take your sample, go to some place, maybe you have a lab, you don't have a lab, and we know how the system works, many times the reports are not correct. So now with this technology in India, many farmers are using. And this technology is scalable because satellite data is available across the globe. We are working in many countries outside India also. So we are also...
So if I was not a moderator, but I was a farmer on the ground, how will you tell me what
farmers, traders, and all the ecosystem players, including scientists and NGOs, donors, whatnot, everyone included. So we create a massive network, and each node represents a particular stakeholder, and they get their productivity tools, depending on the job that they have in hand, right? So the traders come and they pick a handful of cotton, which seems to be the better looking one, and shows like this and says that okay, now let's auction for this. An open auction to pick what could be the price. And from that time onwards, every other lot actually falls below that. Unfortunately, what is not happening is a proper assessment of that particular cotton, which in hand, the farmer often loses because of this adverse selection. Everybody is trying to, because both of them have their own private information. Farmer has information about, let's say, what are the practices used and, what inputs you have used. And the trader has information about, what grade, what rates are there, and they are hidden from both of them. And they completely negotiate on, tactical and exploitory patterns. So often, the farmer loses it. And this also, the dangerous side effect to this is moral hazard, right? What's happening is, farmer is not getting differential benefits for any kind of, better behavior they show. So end of it, the farmer actually resorts to quick wins in terms of, maybe, I'm not saying everyone is doing it, throwing some water to kind of, weight gain and that kind of stuff. So net, so the whole market system is collapsing because of this information asymmetry and, adverse selection and, this moral hazard. Right? That's what we have seen. So to work on this, we have identified, some fundamental aspects that we need to work on. So one is, let's say, standards, right? What we have found, in a mini effort we do, they become localized because that, for example, let's say Gala 1 from Shimla is actually sold in the market here as Shimla apple. Sindhuri mango from here goes and sells as, Gulab Khas in North. So there are names, all the standards are playing really bad for the markets because they are not opening up. As a country, we are not doing enough, particularly considering we are so many states and so many languages, and we are not attempting to do a massive, it's a need of the hour is really standardizing all these things. Then the next is, sorry.
No. I was to ask then how exactly you see technology playing a role to kind of as an equalizer.
One is obviously we need to put the technology into action here to kind of standardize all the commodities across India so that we can assess the markets both in terms of the production and supply and the demand and connect these market folks.
I mean, picking up from where you have left, Lalitesh, we were conversing precisely these are the kinds of supply chain challenges. And this is where as we understand technology in different places and the way farmer needs it on the ground, on the farm, there is an experiment and application happening at Indie Farm. We want to know about what is happening on the ground. And B, do you see the problem solvers from the technological side understand the farmer's intent, what they really want? And I want you to elaborate on that.
Thank you, Dhyananda. I will answer the last question first. Do technology creators understand farmers and their problems? The answer is a resounding no. They do not understand, and I think it's hubris to think that we will understand. Right? I came back to India in 2004. And have built and been engaged in 30 farms across 4 states. And I barely understand what a farmer is going through, right? And it's a moving problem. It is not the same problem that used to be 10 years ago versus 20 years ago and so on. The only thing that we started with, and I've been fortunate to be learning from the Deshpande Foundation also since I came back. The insight that Indiehood started with was the root is the cost of building technology itself, right, which is prohibitive. So if you want to build a platform of the sophistication of a Uber or Ola, it costs thousands of crores. And nobody is willing to spend thousands of crores on a farming platform. So a bunch of computer scientists got together and figured out how to reduce the cost of building platforms by a factor of 10. That's what we did for 5 years. And then we did a first experiment with one of our partners, the management of Avanti, because we live in Bangalore and Bombay, right? So the way we did it is by building, iterating, using it on the ground, listening to the users and iterating again and again and again, right? We roughly make about 5 to 10 changes to the platform every week, right? And if you talk to software engineers would refuse to do that, right? So, and the other point that you made is about the layering, right? Now the next challenge we are taking on is this thing called Indie Farm, which is a farming collaborative,
where farmers, aggregate together and start owning parts of their supply chain, both on the input side, on the output side, powered by this finance platform that we have built. So Avanti is layered into that as well. And the same model is what we expect to follow, which is we will learn and iterate. Right? We have an idea. We have a 100,000 farmer community we are starting with. And Desh has been encouraging me to work with the Deshpande Foundation as well, and we will. And the only reason we're not engaged yet is and is the same reason that Desh talked in the morning. You cannot go and give solutions to a farmer when you're not sure it works, because they only get one chance. Our engineers get many, many chances. Absolutely. Right? So we want to get it right. And the other interesting thing is that will technology become another layer between the farmers in the world? Absolutely. Right? Unless we think different. So, and we have all seen what has happened in India with the gig economy. The gig economy has served the consumers. It has not served the stakeholders. It has not served the producers well. Right? Yeah. So I like to say that farmers live in a feudal system where the local moneylender, the local buyer, and the local seller are feudal lords, right? And the risk we carry is that the physical feudalism will replace by digital feudalism, right? So one of the things we have done is, Indiehood has been bootstrapped for a reason. This is something that Desh, mentored me into when we started Indiehood. And we decided not to take money for a long time. And now when we are taking money, we are taking it from individuals who understand what we are doing. And one of the things we are telling them is this layer Indie Farm that we are building, we will hand over to the farmers once it is built and working. We will not be the primary owners, they will be the primary owners. So if you're going to succeed, my biggest worry is not that we will fail. My biggest worry is that we will succeed, I will leave and somebody will weaponize it, right? Which has been the history of all digital platforms. So far, right? This concentration risk that we are now worried about for ourselves is far more so for farmers. So the hope is that we can build these digital Amuls, if you will, and digital Rabos, and hand them over to the farmers to own them, because the complexity of a digital platform is nothing compared to the complexity of farming.
Yeah, and right. I mean, historically what has happened also in terms of Indian migration is that the kid who was doing well was sent to the city. Yeah. So that even deprives that basic access and the communication with those who stayed on the ground and are farming. So what you're saying, that weaponization, those possibilities increase because those who were tillers and those who remained there with extreme depth of wisdom, in spite of that, they are not linked to the urban language and the technology language. And so how do you try to mitigate that? Like, what is the kind of mechanism that you envisage?
So, like I said, we don't know. But what we're imagining is collectivization at two levels. So a typical FPO in India is 500 to 1,000 farmers, right? We are imagining collections of FPOs behaving like a buyer and a seller, right? So you essentially jump one or two chains in the supply chain where all the benefits that accrue in each of these two links of the supply chain, once it has been digitized and formalized, right, flow back to the farmer. Right? So what we are imagining in Indie Farm is that the farmer will get the same price they used to get at the gate, but they sell to the FPO, right? And it is a no-risk sale. And when the FPO and its set of collectives go and sell to the market, and they're able to store and process and so on and so forth, right? Whatever gains they get, 60% goes back to the farmer, transparently. And the rest of it remains with these two organizations so capacity building can happen at these two layers, right? So, and the interesting thing is even today, given the total value add that the farmers create, and farming is very interesting because we call them entrepreneurs. This is the only entrepreneurship, community on the planet, right? And I talk to my counterparts in Iowa and I'm hearing the same story there, right? Farmers are the only entrepreneurs which take the highest risk and get the least reward.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Everywhere else, entrepreneurs take the most risk and get the most reward. Right? And the reason is they don't own the supply chain. Right? So the simple insight, and like they said, it's a very simple solution, right? The simple insight is they need to own the supply chain. And there is no other answer.
No, wonderful. And I will come back to the second layer of it, that if they need to own the supply chain, what happens to the finance and the credit and what are the challenges? But that is in the next round. Venki has been smiling all through. Recently, in his newsletter called Agribusiness Matters, he wrote about this fourth revolution, whether it is real or not. And people like me who come from the social science field, we keep asking all these tech jargons that we hear, not jargons, they are actual technologies, but the blockchains and the 5G and all the newest kind of AI ML coming and rushing. And I keep wondering, because I move in Hubli and Navalgund where our ponds are, and I say, oh, okay, so how do I connect all these dots, how real it is, and how it is going to become real? But then I see multiple things and multiple hopes, and their children, their second generation, third generation, their engineer sons coming back to the field and doing horticulture. And there is a kind of a different picture that is emerging in India today. So listening to all of these, some are direct technologies helping the productivity, the grading, the marketplace, and the technology that is coming in place. How do you see the technology impacting the agriculture? And what are the gaps that we need to be really, really aware of so that we don't become good solutions in search of problems, but we actually identify the problems and we apply the solutions?
First of all, I'm very delighted to share this panel with all of you here. I must also add a note that, in 2018, when I was, working with a few agri-tech companies, one of the note that was sent to me was the Bhoo Swaraj platform vision that was written by Lalitesh. And, we had your specific question here, right? Today, I think, given that we are talking about water and farm ponds, I'm tempted to sort of use water as a metaphor here, right? Technology is like a gushing force, right? It has its own, like that rock is several years old, it has its own set of challenges. Now, obviously, water being what it is, it cannot directly pour and sort of hit the rock, right? Water, sometimes the rock can be very strong. And so water does, it chooses the path of least resistance, right? So what it does is it moves to the sides and goes to areas where it can create value, right? I'll give you in more specific terms. Take an instance like farmers today pay about, they take a credit rates of today is about 34 to 36% credit rate. Right? You take from NBFC, you take to, or you take about your likes of Jai Kisan startups, they take about 18 to 21%, right? Or that's the rate that's normally called out. Now, the question obviously is, those farmer financing options are not sustainable. Now, how do we fund? So now, obviously, to own that kind of a principal risk becomes a challenge. So now what will technology do? Technology goes to the path of, okay, let me then finance the input side of things. So if you see the numbers, right, today, globally, which is actually, a call for us to be a little more optimistic here. If you see the numbers that went into funding from an agri-tech perspective was about 51.4 billion, if you look at the AgriFunder's latest report. And a bulk of it went to e-grocery. Which means how do we almost more than 40 to 50% of global money, and that was about 188% of growth, that went globally only to see how do we get grocery better. This is the global scene. In contrast to it, in India, we had about 1.4 billion that was funded. And overall, if you look at it, and out of which maximum has gone to the input side. So if you take the numbers wise, an input is about 21%, followed by output. And then followed by your precision agriculture and managed farming. Now that is very interesting if you ask me, because that's exactly how technology moves. It is moving towards the domain of input, because that's the domain where the money can also make, right? I mean, technology goes where money goes where technology goes. Gap side, to address that gap, I think, as we go through a lower, least resistant, least gravity affected, and slowly we will move to more challenging ones. So I see today's conversation as a reflection of that we are now starting to talk a little more deeper about, okay, now what are the challenges and gaps there? So, yeah.
I think with this kind of a gathering, we have multiple startups here in our audience. We have experts and bankers. And we also have people from the development sector side who are working with farmers. And each one has a different language to connect farmers. And each one has a different language to connect. What I hear from all of you is that there are gaps, but there are possibilities which we need to do. But one of the gap that is very real, and you can't be pretentious about that gap, is the finance and the credit. And if you call them an entrepreneur, how do you link that kind of finance possibility at much lower rate, what the kind of rates that you're saying? So what are the options there, and how do we deal with it? Lalitesh, I'm going to start with you in this round. And would you like to reflect on this as a major challenge, because you mentioned about this earlier?
Yeah, it is a major challenge, and I'm so glad. And they stand in line, they come and sit in these groups and joint lending groups and so on and so forth. Why? Because we have not digitized the land fully, right? And made it a mortgageable asset, something we can do trivially, given the power that Digital India has, right? If we decide to do it, we can literally do it in a matter of a couple of years, right? I think there are experiments in Haryana and Maharashtra and so on, and I'm hoping Karnataka can lead the way. So that is one part of the problem, information asymmetry. The other part of the information asymmetry is, is what the purpose of the loan is, right? If you try to do it at a book level, you cannot predict. You don't know whether the farmer is taking the loan for consumption, for working capital, or asset building, right? So for asset building, theoretically, because it is the lowest risk, you should also get the lowest credit rate. But today, there is no way of doing that. So if the farmer, with the exception of this farm pond product, right? If the farmer wants to go out and build a shade net, which will last 5 to 10 years, right? And they will need an insurance product, because that shade net can be torn apart, right? And if they have the insurance product, that asset that will last 10 years should get a rate of 9 to 10%, right? And if I buy a house, I get it at a rate of 8%. Even with the subsidies that government provides, farmers cannot get any loan less than 18% from the formal sector today, right? The best MFI in India does it around 18%, right? So that gap has to be bridged, right? And so we have a array of problems. I have a lot of hope, because we are seeing that these digital experiments do work. One of the key learnings is that you have to move the loan operations to the community. It cannot be employees of your organization. The community needs to operate the loan, because they understand how to codify the risk far better than we will, right? And then the digital is supposed to be this layer, so that they can operate a bank without them understanding banking. So the world needs banking, doesn't need banks, right? This is a well-known metaphor. So if the world needs banking and not need banks, banks then need to empower the communities to run their banking layers, and they provide the umbrella on top.
On the top of it. I think one of the reasons to have a varied kind of panel is that they come from different places. And just to come back and...
So it's very, heterogeneous group. So we cannot say, if we understand, let's say, farmer of one part of India, we understand the other part. There may be different, we talk about exploiting the farmer. I come from Western UP. There may be some rare cases. I don't think it's easy to exploit farmer there. It may be other way around. So there are different kind of region and different kind of problem we faces. For the interest part, I'm not exactly aware, because I don't work in the finance part. But I think Kisan credit card, maybe there is a limit. It cannot provide much. I think interest rate is, I don't know, maybe 4, 5, 6%, something like that. Yeah. 4%. So, okay, sir. So there are some credit is available. It's not so costly, all the kinds. And there are various kind of, you can buy fertilizer at, from society, you can pay later. So many options are there. Of course, we need more and more, but things are there. And when we talk about the adoption, I think things are, we see the young people. I have a kid, 3-year-old. She knows how to operate, YouTube, etc., all the things. My father, who was a, government official, he was not able to operate the mobile. So as the new generation is coming, they are very well in using technology, mobile, etc. When I talk to farmer, typically more than 40-year-old, it becomes very difficult to know how to use. But if they have 5-year-old kid, they know how to use the mobile app, install the app.
They have a pull fact, I mean,
Yes,
it's there
yes.
in the family.
So as the family, the younger people are coming, so adoption will increase. Of course, it will take a lot of time because how to reach farmer in a sustainable manner.
Yeah.
We don't have unlimited resources where we can reach all the farmer. So we make partner, we were discussing about the ecosystem. So we need to work with people who are working with farmer. That's how we can reach. And we try many things. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes things go very well. We are trying to we have about 28,000 farmers in India we are working with, and it's increasing day by day.
It's increasing day by day. Raj, for this, for the value chain to improve and to come in the marketplace, these gaps are pronounced, some are there. Where do you see are the solutions within the technological domain, and what you are doing, whether it is kind of bringing some solutions to the farmers on the ground?
So the first, you talked about the massive rock that is stopping this tech penetration, right? And I think I see the rock in in the perspective of one is transparency. You don't know what's happening from the digital point of view, and the discovering the needs. Discovering the needs, and also digital value chains, and also a simple systems agriculture end of it in every transaction is regulated with respect to kind of document needs to be generated and all these things, and there are no systems being used. Sometimes that will be shown as a big thing that that also used as exploitative thing, right? So another thing I just want to look at this, how technology can play a much better role here is from a traditional pull model. I think we should be looking more at a push model. Every farmer that is asking a question, there are 99 farmers that are not asking questions. Or the farmer's knowledge in terms of pulling the right inputs for the right duration or right the farm practices. And there are many farmers who are not aware and not asking for it. So most of the models, including the credit that Lalita talked about, right? So the pull model is not working. We don't have the farmers think like business people and asking for the right things, right credit, right terms, and all those things. So the technology needs to think, and once we digitalize, you call it, right? Needs to push these services, when a simple thing if a farmer or an FPO goes for negotiating the inputs, that's the time to push a credit, right? So many things that that can be pushed using the technology, so that things can be used. And can be brought into practice.
Super. Now turning to the audience, I think more questions. I think I had my one layer of introduction to understand, but maybe a question from the audience we can take, and if there are a couple of questions, we have time, isn't it? Yeah, we do have. Yeah, someone can take the mic. Is there anyone in the... No. Shankar?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sai Prasad from Samunnati. Question to Lalitesh. So I like the, one of your view that, farmers need banking but not bankers. So the operationalization of all the financial, services for farmers, if it is best left to community, is there any operating model on that? I'm very keen to know that, if there is already a working model.
Yeah, so we have, just having touched 200,000 farmers, I don't think we can claim success, but we are still, if India is 100 million farmers, right, the way we think about it is until we are 2%, we are an experiment. At 2%, we are a POC. And at 10%, we are a pilot. And at 30%, we have hit scale. So we are still in experimental. But what we have seen so far is if we allow the creation of the product, the lending product itself, to be in the hands of the community, right? And of course, the simplest part is the onboarding and the filling out of the forms, right? And the decision making, right? The decision making is always informed by the credit bureau and signals and other signals and other input that farmer has given. But there's a lot of community information that does not get encoded unless you actually have empower the community to make the decision, right? So if you do these two things, right, three things, which is give the operational control to the community, right, and then give the product control, right, and then the third thing is you provide customization of the risk profile on the ground. And let me give an example of a product control. So very few, lending organizations on the ground will give loans more than 40 to 50 to 60,000 rupees. Now, if it's a livelihood loan, if a farmer wants to, get a buffalo, right? They'll get 2 buffaloes because the amount of work you do to, do buffalo farming for 1 buffalo versus 2 is the same, right? So it makes more sense to do 2 buffaloes, and 2 buffaloes cost, depending on the part of the country, anywhere from 1.2 to 1.8 lakhs, right? And usually the buffalo is sold when it is just about pregnant, right? So you have a gestation period of 9 to 13 months. 13 months if it gives birth during summertime because very little milk comes out at that time, right? So you need a loan product now which is, of this magnitude, 1.2 to 1.8 lakhs with a moratorium who need to be paid 8% and so on and so forth, right? How do we mitigate that? Now, it's work in progress.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. By the way, I'm a very big fan of your organization, Samar. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And it is for anybody.
The easiest solution, I mean, one of the things that comes on top of mind in terms of to make it farmer friendly is we'll have to do open source and modularize, right? Today, you take the case of a typical farmer's family where there'd be a TVS 50. Right? Now, today, anyone who's working in the agricultural implement space should build components that can plug into a TVS 50. That's the solution. I mean, that's the thing that I've been pushing some of my friends who are in the mechanization space. That you should not bring in fancy implements and things there, but make it as modular as you can that you can plug into your TVS 50. Right? That's a very simple solution that can probably is audacious, but I know some people are right now doing it, are attempting to do it. If you take startups like Agri Tools and few other startups. So that is one. Right? Today and this was also has other reasons, right? Today the tractors are way through, right? We are calling now Punjab as a graveyard of tractors, right? So we are seeing a lot of data where people are buying, in agriculture is such a strange domain where people buy something X for Y, right? Tractor is not bought because of farmer wants to do something, because he needs the raw energy power. Right? That is the underlying reason in which people buy tractors. So when that raw energy power is there, but then we don't build additional innovations, right? In terms of like making inputs, like, from a labor perspective, making it easier. So those kind of components is where we need to build. I mean, that is from a automation and mechanistic perspective. But yes, I mean, any other?
No, Sujitra has a point to make.
Yeah, as you were talking about automation, I have few thoughts for mechanization industries in the agriculture sector. There is a lot to do in mechanization of agriculture, especially in the horticulture sector. For example, if you go to US and see the way almonds and walnuts or any other horticulture products are processed, right from the way it has been harvested to processed, 90% is mechanized. 90% is mechanized. Very few, very niche sectors are labor-oriented. Whereas in India, even when you take the cashew industries, till the last 10 years, it was 90% labor-oriented. Now the things are changing. But how it is changing? There are a lot of mechanization happening, but from foreign countries. I'm telling you, especially China is dominating mechanization of our agriculture and horticulture sector. If we Indians mechanization, I generally as a especially for the agriculture sector, one, if you can retain the value of agriculture and horticulture product, if your product can help the farmer retain the agriculture, the farmer's agricultural produce value. Second is increasing the value of the agriculture produce, and three, increase the productivity. If your product can address either one or two, it is great. The cost will be taken care. If any of these three things are addressed, cost will be taken care. So I have a appeal to make to the young entrepreneurs of India, especially from who is focused on agriculture and horticulture. Please focus on mechanization. Otherwise, we are losing a lot of money importing mechanization of machines for our mechanization. So That is what something I wanted to share. Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you so much. It was to the point, and I was really, I you guys can hear me. Ma'am, thank you so much. I think it was to the point, and it was kind of a little emotional as well. I mean, why I'm talking about this is because I'm expecting little more. Probably I'll have to put this in a different way. I'll try again, right? Okay, so I met a marginal farmer in a nearby, village. It's in Hassan district, right? He's got 7 acres of land. He's doing sugar cane, and then he had this red rot problem. I'm taking little time here. I hope you guys don't mind.
No, we are running listen time so faster.
Right. So it's a real problem, right? 7 acres of land, 4 acres of sugar cane that he's growing, and the sugar cane that he's growing is no more in the demand, right? But unfortunately, he's bought it from the market and he's growing it. And now, if you go back and check, the problem that he had is the red rot issue that he had. He did not have a solution for it. Even there were no proper agri inputs. So if you talk to him, he's ready to pay for it. Like, you know where I'm coming from. I'm talking about these kind of problems. Can these kind of problems be addressed using technology is what I'm trying to, ask.
Like we do provide, pest and disease advisory, what can be done, early warning, all those kind of things we are doing based on satellite data, weather data.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know maybe this addresses or not, but I think the gratification is key. And showing the differential benefits to the farmer in terms of using any technology. It's not about the user experience and how good or how nice it is, but more the value for whatever the action they are doing, right? It's simple that we all go to Facebook to check how many likes we have or that kind of stuff, or LinkedIn how many people visited our profile. And we don't keep any record of our medical bills or that kind of stuff. But we expect all these things by the farmer to do, right? So the problem is, and we are not digitized the entire ecosystem also, less than 50% of input industry is actually digitized using any kind of ERP. Our academia and scientists are using no tools to any kind of dissemination and thing. So now taking something, a technology or something to the farmer, it's actually unjust. We should look at farmer is going to be passive and design systems who are more push-oriented than the pull-oriented. And also for every step he's taking, looking for the gratification or the differential benefit the farmer is going to get.
Also provide the necessary guarantees that their risk is covered, right? So there are problems that the world faces which farmers are responsible for solving. We are going to make them responsible for solving, but we are not going to give them the tools unless we build something like this, right? And I'm the last person to say we should not spend billions of dollars doing it. I think we should spend hundreds of billions of dollars doing it. But it will take, I think, a different way of thinking about it. So let me give a sense of the problem itself. In July of 2022, a few months back, the UN FAO released a landmark report, right? And the UN is not known to be, sensationalist, but their report said that by 2050, 90% of the world's arable land will be bankrupt, right? There will be so little organic matter that it will not be farmable. Now, this is, and by 2035, about one that there are very few ways to do sustainable farming where both soil and water are conserved without intensive agriculture. So let me say that again. The only known ways of actually doing sustainable agriculture where organic matter increases substantially is through intensive agriculture, which India is doing, right? And we have, 100 odd million farmers, with 200 odd million, hectares, right? So we are capable of doing it, and we actually have the capacity to do it. We don't need skill building. Our farmers actually know how to do, intensive sustainable farming. We have taken the supply chain away. And if we bring the supply chain back to them, if for example, if a farmer that is growing rice, the average economic yield of that rice, of that 1 acre farm where even if they don't do hybrid farming, even if they do normal farming, 20 quintals, like 2 crops, right, is roughly about 3 lakhs per year, right, between the various derivatives that get built and so on. If you manage to deliver half of it to them, all the farmers are in middle class, right? without changing productivity, without changing anything else, right? And the farmers are smart enough, and they are so proud of their land that if you figure out how to get them into, you know, the middle class, they will figure out how to make the farm sustainable.
Yeah, that,
Right.
I mean, that, this conversation is, can go on. This is just the tip of it. I think where you're hitting the nail on the head is that there's a productivity side, there's a mechanization and adding the value side, and there is this whole transparency and access. But all this will all again and again come down to how do we solve the knot, which is credit, finance, access, and help to bridge the gap. I think this is a great segue
Madam,
for
shall
the
I
next.
say one?
We will take this conversation further. I'm sorry, my time is up, but this is why at Deshpande Foundation we are starting this. Take this as a starting point of a conversation. We will continue this conversation digitally, and I will make sure that you will be able to ask questions on our site to Lalitesh and others on my panel, and we will take the conversation further. I'm just wrapping it up, giving it to the next is Shantanu Pense is going to speak about what SBI is going to do. And then we will naturally progress into the conversation that Dr. Chintala is going to moderate on actual value chains. So we move from the farm and the finance and the yet to kind of taking it to the market and forward. I think everyone within the time would like to have access to that conversation. So I thank my panel. Please keep writing for us. Venki, we want your partnership with us, kind of to, you know what is the kind of interest on all these topics. So thank you once again, and I move to the other. Appreciate.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon, all. Thanks to Deshpande Foundation for giving this opportunity to me. I hope I am audible. Yeah, thank you. In fact, before I start, I may set a context. 10 minutes given to me is basically unfair. If you can allow me some 3, 4, 5 minutes more, I'll be grateful. Anyways, I would also respond to some of the questions which were taken up earlier in a very short way. We are going to have a complete disruption of technology in this country as far as democratization of farmer credit is there. May not be able to tell you much detail because it's already underway, but SBI is already involved very, very deeply with the government of India. And very soon there will be a complete end-to-end digital journey of KCC. And let me tell you, the journey is so quick and easy is, RBI Innovation Hub is also building a journey. The DF is also building the journey. The credit will be released in the farmer's account in around 3.5 minutes, and no person is involved in it. That is the kind of technology we are going to use, which necessarily means is that a person logs in and the money is credited to his account in 3.5 minutes. And we use all kinds of technologies in between. Reading the data, reading the land records, reading the NABARD scale of finance, and so on and so forth. So that is the context in which I wanted to start. And I hope there are many agri-techs here. And I was here on last 19th December, where we engaged with almost 13 or 14 startups. And subsequent to that meeting, we are engaged, very intense engagement with each one of them, and some 5 or 6 at Mumbai also. So my request to each one of you who is representing the agri startup is that subsequent to this, we can also, as a bank, engage with you one-on-one on a MS Teams or Zoom call so that we can collaborate to larger extent. We identify the areas of collaboration and then take it forward. So going back to the presentation, yeah. How does it move? Yeah, I built up this presentation based on my actual, interaction with the startups. I had an interaction in Chennai, in Mumbai, in Bangalore last month. Now this is the fourth interaction I have. So SBI is the largest agri ecosystem in this country. And if I can introduce just like you to be more closer is that I represent the 1804 startup of this country, one of the first startups of this country, which is 218 years old. Okay. We started as Bank of Bengal, Bank of Madras. Now we are then Imperial Bank to State Bank of India. That's how the journey is. So all our startups have told me that although we exist in digital space, but we need the physical presence of ecosystem, farmers and branches. And that is why we see that more and more banks are opening branches also, because we have realized that if we have to connect to the farmers and then connect him to technology, we need tangible people and branches and infrastructure who will do that. Because farmers are a difficult to connect farmers to technology, you need some medium, which is a physical infrastructure of either a bank or maybe even an NBFC for that matter. So we have got 15,000 RUSU branches and 67,000 CSPBC outlets. That makes a huge chain distribution network of State Bank of India. And more than 120 curated. An app called SBI YONO, of this country, 6 crore on this YONO, which is a huge base. And I will have some screenshots for the agri-tech specifically for you to understand what is YONO. And we have vast presence, and every district we have a regional office. Yeah. Now you see, SBI engages with every partner of the ecosystem, right from individual farmers to FPOs. Yes, sir, along with NABARD, we are actually connecting to FPOs. We also have other partners, corporate with whom we are actually engaged with FPO funding. FPOs, the next SHGs, maybe of 10 years, it will take to evolve, but NABARD promoted SHGs in maybe 1982, 1985, then RBI came in, and now SHG is a big thing. So FPO may be next big thing, maybe 5-10 years it will take to mature and grow like SHG. So we are everywhere, you see. We are basically engaged in, now the context is improvement in funding the farm gate infrastructure, because it is the need of the hour of this for this country. In fact, all the speakers earlier have made it so clear that farm gate infrastructure needs to be improved. And we have got all curated products. I'm rushing because I have to finish in 10 minutes and I may not be able to do it if I don't rush. One slide will take at least 5 minutes to explain. That is why I made such slides. So you see here, I want you to look at the AIF, AHIDF, PMFME, PM Kusum, Agri Mudra. These are all policy measures by Government of India, and I will discuss subsequently on this because these are very big measures. At present not reaching to the bottom where it should reach, but we are working with chota packet bada dhamaka, is it not? So you have got the fintech platforms, you have nanotechnologies, the innovations and all. Now for those startups which are there, let me tell you, I am not come here to offer my loans. No, because I understand that the startups do not need loans per se, because any bank is rushing to start up with a loan and then finding that I cannot extend a loan because the startup does not have the financial balance sheets which it should have, or my appraisal standards or my underwriting guards are not so lower so that I can correct to you. But in my opinion, there are 6 or 7 types of engagements which State Bank has now and in future. One is what a startup needs, what we read is, and we have a branch in Koramangala live, we have a branch in Chennai in IIT, the second startup branch, the third startup branch is coming in New Delhi, and then we are coming a whole lot of startup branches who will cater specifically to the startups. But our understanding is, if we are to engage with this, then one, you need the transaction banking, handholding, cash managements, collections, your salary account solutions. We all have that kind of bouquet for you. The second bouquet will be investment counseling, the regulatory guidances or regulatory support, legal support, so that you file FEMA, SMF, FIRC, remittances, and so on and so forth. Third is, of course, the credit needs, which you have either as an organization or a startup or individually or even to your ecosystem players or specifically the value chain, which is above you and below you. You will also need some corporate salary packages. That is the fourth bouquet we have, the credit cards, insurance products, and so on. The fifth will be the payment gateway integration, particularly either domestic or international. And then comes private equity, the strategic investment, legal advisory services, custodial services. So these are all the product bouquets which a AgTech or any startup needs, not only the agriculture. Yeah, this is the screenshot of, you can take a screenshot because many people are taking pictures. So this is what I have done for you. Yeah, this is what we are actually doing. We did 3 or 4 pilots with NABARD in this country, 3 around Bangalore, 1 in Maharashtra, and we are further, we are in a process of digitizing it so that we establish that value chain funding actually can do wonders for this country. I would just go in that, where are we? We can be with you in marketing, agri inputs, then precision agriculture, the farm mechanization, and I have actually noted down what he said, one of our, I will just read out. It was so fantastic. Farmers take the highest risk, but get the lowest rewards because they don't own the supply chain. That is what you said, sir. One of the fantastic statements you made. And Chintala sir asked a question. It is not easy at all. Yeah, this is the engagement with agri startups. The first quick win which we can have is you coming onto our Yono Krishi, and I will show this screenshot subsequently. One is Yono Krishi, and then we go to farming, cultivation, and harvesting, value nodes which you have, then to distribution, transportation, and to till end. End to end, we are there with you. Now, this is the platform which I was talking about, Yono Krishi, and it's there for last 2 years. And you will find some of your friends or even some of your friends, AgTechs, already sitting in my Yono. So we are working on platform, working on products. Partnerships, and working with people. Now, we also are working to develop the whole ecosystem, let me tell you. as a bank, we have a very long-term vision on agriculture, is that we are working with Manage Hyderabad as of now, where we actually engage and ACABC scheme is a wonderful scheme there for last 20 years. But with the tie-up which we have now, we have got immense success in last 2-3 months. And we have created large number of good ventures which were there, but we are now supporting them. So that's one of the things which has happened lately. This is a real screenshot. You can quickly come, and any agtech who wants to join at Yono Krishi, there is no cost. And I will just show you. There are 4 types. One is Khata, Bachat, Mitra, and Mandi. And all those which somebody said, I want to ask the question, you can actually ask the question here. You get all the advisories. And I will show you how. And there are, everything is there, which is on the right side. So we'll just go forward. You see on Mitra, it's a knowledge hub for the farmers. It gives weather, it gives agri-advisory, it gives crop pricing, it gives government scheme, and there is a forum of agriculture also. And this is live, my friends, for last 2 years. Yes. Yes. I mean, around 7 languages we already have. And we are in development stage. Yeah, on Mitra, these friends are already sitting. I do not know whether you are, some of you are here, but these are all live on our platform already as Mitra, which are basically the advisory. Then Mandi. Mandi gives, actually, you can hire a tractor from Mandi. So there is crop care, seeds, irrigation, cattle care, everything. And I will just go into deep dive. You can see many of them already there on Mandi doing business. So say, for example, if I go to any agri-cart, just like Amazon or Flipkart, I go to Yono, I go to agri-cart, I can actually order a packet of seeds for me. It is as simple as that. It's a marketplace. So you just have to go, get an advisory, and then go to anything, agri-app, agri-cart, agri-bakery, and you can actually order things for you. So just like there is a startup called Fasal, and I happened to meet Shailendra Tiwari, who actually did. Yeah. This is the last slide. I mean, I will not take, but once in your lifetime you need a doctor, a lawyer, a police, a preacher, but 3 times a day I need a farmer. Is it not? This is the reality of the day. Yeah. Now, I'll just wrap up in next 2-3 minutes, although the presentation is over, but I want to share certain things, consume some 10-11 minutes, further 3-4 minutes I would like to have. One is, I said, the country is going to witness a complete disruption with democratization of credit, and the days are not maybe 30 days. That's the cut-off time, which I think, and that will actually be another UPI, sir, for this country when we do this kind of democratization of credit. This is one. And second is, there is enough physical presence of the banking infrastructure, the BCCSP. So all of you, I mean, the point why I am addressing to the agri-techs is, every agri-tech which has engaged with me told me one thing, that we are on all digital, we are on all virtual, but we need a platform, we need physical, tangible people, tangible branches, so that farmers believe that we can actually benefit out of the technology, and farmers' income can be doubled, tripled. That is the ultimate aim. In fact, I am standing here on behalf of State Bank, not as salesman of State Bank, but as carrier of the message which the banks wants to give. That's how it is. we will engage with, and we are actually getting engaged with many, many AgTechs in last 2-3 months with every value chain. Say, suppose there is a AgTech called Argos. You must be knowing. What Argos does is a grain bank. They took 10 years to reach 300 crores turnover. Now you just imagine a tech startup with an amazing concept took 10 years to reach 300 crores. We have an engagement with them. They will reach 3,000 crores maybe in 2 years. That's how we can actually have a, what you say, collaborative approach will help this country because of the policy support. Today, Ministry of Agriculture has given 1 lakh crore, that is 1 trillion policy support for Agri-Infra Fund, and we are doing a massive work in creating infrastructure for this country as a bank. One of the leading banks, in fact, HDFC is also doing well alongside because I'm aware about what they are doing. So when we create the infrastructure at the farm gate, at a data point, let me tell you what APIDA chairman also said. I will just go further. We have an agri-export, pure agri-export of $38 billion, which is huge. And he also referred to the kind of food we produce. But I will go one step higher. We are wasting food, fruit, vegetable of 1.5 trillion rupees every year. Now, 1.5 trillion wastage is not even what our neighbors produce, sir. We are wasting even more what our neighbors don't produce. So if we invest in Agri-Infra Fund, and I would look forward to the foundation, if we can do that also, sir, alongside you, that even small warehouses, small greenhouses, small primary processing can be done, and out of 1 lakh crore policy support, we have not even consumed 10%. That's the fund which is ready for taking. The bank wants to give, and the government gives subvention. The government gives credit guarantee. We are misers if we do not take benefit of this kind of policy support, and the bankers fund this. Once we do that, you just imagine 1.5, the income will be doubled or even more, sir. Why we should restrict double? We have the largest sown area in this country. That is what I wanted to say. One more point which was discussed, I will go, is that it's not only the access to credit what matters, it is the cost of credit also matters. Because you need access, but you need at low cost. And that is what when I said democratization of credit, the government and RBI are actually building platform of platforms. Maybe another 1 year or 1.5, the entire ecosystem will come on platform where the availability of credit will not be a challenge. The cost of credit will not be a challenge. Just give me 1-2 more minutes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yeah, but this is one of the awesome. Yes. So I'm finishing in next 60 seconds. For the agri-techs who are there, as a bank, we are open to take you. And let me tell you where we can collaborate. One is, there is no dearth of potential. There is no dearth of talent. There is no dearth of resources also per se. If you can see, if you want input of money, State Bank and all the banks are there. And AgTech, you are actually making a difference. I have seen so many agri-techs. Move Farm is one such agri-tech. Or there is one AgTech by Taran. He is from Dharamshala. He is doing fantastic job. I can speak for hours on this. But if you have got technology, you have got innovation, we have got money. You have got idea, we have got money. Our physical presence is there. We have got a farmer ecosystem sitting in State Bank of India of 1.6 crores. You just imagine if you join hands, or we join hands with you, 1.6 crore farmers are having loans with us, which means a ready-made base of 1.6 crore, which is huge, and in all states, wherever you are. We want to engage with you in your entire value chain, end to end. The purpose is, we may not be able to fund you directly as of now, or it may take some time, but if there are 3 nodes or 4 nodes below you, there are 3 or 4 nodes above you. If we engage into the entire value chain enriches, and we actually can grow 2x, 3x, 4x or whatever. There is a lot of government support. The NABARD support is phenomenal. Unparalleled in this country. And one last thing, which every architect told me is, we need trust, and we have got time. So I wanted to speak much more, but thank you so much. Yes, but you can send me an email at cgm.abu, @sbi.co.in. Thank you.
Thank you, Shantanu sir. Now we will have a second panel moderated by Dr. G.R. Chintala, Anil Kumar SD, Samunnati founder, Dhanalakshmi R, CSRBP Strategic Project, Bio Foundation, SD Pandian, Secretary Seeds FPO, Ramdevi Fishery Miles, Karthik Jayaraman, co-founder Rekul.
Good afternoon. For the past 3 hours, actually, we are having quite a lot of interesting conversation on the agriculture, startups, ecosystem, and other things. And all the previous speakers have given a phenomenal information as to really how they are trying to do this one. So the last speaker, Shantanu, was telling that how the SBI is doing it. Now I will call SBI the SPAC, that is the Special Purpose Acquisition Company, which is trying to onboard every kind of a startup that is there and trying to make maybe the ecosystem better and all those things. So now we have a very nice kind of a panel here, and my job is comparatively very, very easy, because all the panelists have got a very great amount of experience. Now, here I just want to reflect one thing. I'm reading a book called Why Nations Fail. And everyone has to read it. Actually, this has taken 300 years of history of the world, and particularly North and South America. The North and South America are just divided by a line, but thing is that North America is prosperous, while the South America is very poor. That is just because of the policies, lack of institutions, lack of democratization, lack of creating that kind of a private kind of an enterprise, and giving freedom to the people to explore, patent, and encash whatever they are doing it. Now, I see the same kind of a thing with regard to the Indian agriculture. We have everything, but the have-nots do not have that kind of a freedom to go for that kind of a system where they can access the things in a very democratic way. Like the previous speakers were telling that there is a stranglehold of the people at the village level, or maybe the traders, maybe the money lenders, maybe everyone who is in that already entrenched value chain players. They are not allowing this democratic thing to happen, and that is where farmer, who is the highest risk taker, by putting 100% of money into the enterprise, wait for the God to deliver, not even to the human beings to deliver. Because every time we say that in case if I get a good money, I will come to Tirupati and give my ball, rather than maybe saying that actually the markets and everybody has to play a very great role about this one. So now that is where actually the entire Indian agriculture is pitted against it. Because now, despite all the things which we are doing, quite a lot of changes that were being brought, though many things are happening, but still farmer is at the mercy of the traders, the cartelized part, and that is how things are. So now, this particular panel, we want to reflect on how the technology is going to change this one in creating that kind of a value chains, and how the consumer rupee, the maximum part of it can be delivered to the farmer. So that is where this entire technology. So now I am having with me on panel Mr. Karthik Jayaraman of Waycool. He himself will tell exactly what is to be. Though I know about it, I don't want to take away the freedom from him. And Ram Divi, actually I had interaction with him at least for the past 5-6 months in many occasions. And I found this kind of a thing, but maybe in case of FPO financing, it's only 2 organizations. Neil is a very great innovator with regard to the fintech and financial products. And we have Pandian Saab actually that specifically, actually I told that he should be invited, because now everybody talks about FPOs. Now we have around 16,000 FPOs in the country. And if you take the statistics, maybe not more than around 4,000 or 5,000 are having any kind of a great business. And even in this 4,000 or 5,000, that may the average business is around not more than around 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs. But Pandian ji is running an FPO with more than around 3,000 plus farmers as members. And the business is very humongous. More than that, actually, personally, actually, I used to tell, even I told the agriculture minister Saab also that time, if somebody has to see a circulatory economy within that ecosystem, one has to see the FPO which he is running, because not even a small peck is wasted. Everything is converted into the wealth. That is how he is creating wealth from the waste also. And now we have Dhanalakshmi, who is heading the CSR part of Bayer. And they are doing quite a lot of work on the entire ecosystem, particularly with regard to the FPOs, taking the technology to the field, and really how to make this ecosystem much better than this kind of a thing. So with this kind of a very eminent panel, my job is very easy. So now the time is limitation. So actually I will put 2 minutes to each of the speakers first to reflect as to what they are doing and what exactly is the expectation.
Thank you, Dr. Chintala. And it's wonderful to be here with all of you. Many of the eminent speakers before had touched upon the concern that a lot of effort is going on the input side, but the market linkage piece is the piece that's limiting how much cash can flow back into the farmer and therefore genuinely improve their livelihood. Waycool is an attempt at solving that. Waycool is a direct supply chain company. It's a direct demand-led supply chain company that procures from farmers across categories, fresh produce, dairy, and grains and staples, processes and adds value to the products, and delivers it to a large base of retailers. Our value proposition is our ability to predict demand, because we now have 7 years of data across 60,000 retailers. And we're able to therefore predict the demand in advance and communicate that to the farmers initially before harvest, and to many of the next level of risk reduction, wherein if it's a cauliflower farmer, they will actually plant quarter acre every Monday, and therefore give us a consistent yield for a longer period of time, and they will get better risk-adjusted returns as well, rather than depend upon one day's market price. The idea here is that the traditional supply chain, because of the fragmentation that Dr. Chintala pointed out, does not communicate market demand to the farmer. It is a push supply chain. It is like pushing a string. And when you push a string, you get basically waviness, which is called the bullwhip effect in traditional supply chain science. The auto industry, which is where I come from, actually solved for this 35 years ago by making it a demand-led supply chain. We're trying to learn from both the auto industry and based on the ground realities of the food and agri space to see whether we can apply the same principle of pull and lean supply chains using technology. The technology application lies in our ability to forecast and lies in our ability to track the movement of inventory, because farmers will not achieve fill rates like an industry. And making sure the deltas get addressed so that my customer, the retailer, does not suffer. As a result, today, we are able to deliver 95 to 98% fill rates, whether it is a cyclone or a pandemic. We are based in Chennai, so we faced everything. We are able to deliver a consistent fill rate with 1.5 days of inventory and 0.7 to 4% of wastage, shrinkage, and moisture loss, as against what we are told is the industry average of 14.7 to 18%. So that's really the value proposition of the company. Thank you, sir.
So still saving around 20 seconds. So, yeah. Now I have Ram Devi. So he got a very fantastic kind of a business. So I will ask him.
Thank you, Dr. Chintala. First of all, before introducing myself, very, very honestly, I should thank Desh, because I've been part of agriculture and agri-value chain and agri-business since last 30 years. Worked with more than 5 lakh farmers and seen cereals, pulses, oil seeds, spices, fresh produce value chains. I myself led it before becoming an entrepreneur. But I think what he has started, and one simple example of if 1 lakh farm ponds comes in and into 5 acres, that gives 5 lakh acres of. And also did a lot of fresh initiatives in fruits and vegetables, fisheries, a lot of things. And also, actually, a lot of risk management also, because not many people touch today, because that is one of the biggest problems for farmers today, risk management. Although we have commodity exchanges, but they haven't really reached up to the farmers yet. So, apart from this, in fact, my last part of corporate was with retail. First with Spencer's Retail, I was the country head. So then, again, part of a e-commerce. So really seen the hybridization of omni-channel. And then finally, I decided to become an entrepreneur. And today we are, in fact, rolling out one of the B2B initiatives in fish. So in a very, very different way, because that is one of the sectors where 99.9% unorganized, and absolutely nobody is there to provide that B2B support. So now coming later stage, actually, I would like to share, because practically being a practitioner of the value chains, we have seen right from the sourcing and the supply chain and the risk management, and ultimately how the front end evolves. So those are the things. And I still remember during 2000 when we rolled out eChopal, that was the time, in fact, internet was so expensive and very erratic. And we had to go for VSATs to connect the villages. And tele-density was so poor. In fact, OFC was a big problem. So like that, in those kind of time, in fact, I've seen more or less these 22, 23 years, how technology is making changes, but this is a big country, and it is a fragmented country, and each state is different. So that is why, although there are some big changes took place in agriculture, but because of the sheer size of the country, we don't feel them. But otherwise, if we compare with one of the European countries, one district of India is equal to a European country. So that is where the changes we look, even Israel. Because the size of the country, but a lot of changes happening already. And I would like to share with you my experience, particularly post-COVID, later once the first round happens. Thank you.
So now we have Anil, because the previous two speakers spoke about what they procure. But Anil is in the other side. Actually, people procure loan from him. So now I want him to reflect.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, sir, for your kind words of encouragement, as you have always been doing over the years. It's wonderful to be here. And I was also privileged and fortunate to visit the site of Farm Pond 2.5, 3 years ago. Rajiv was a wonderful host and took us around the Farm Pond. It's inspiring to see what just one ingredient in agriculture, water, can unleash the economic gains in the ecosystem. Well, Samunati is a compulsive risk-taking entity, I would say. As we heard in the morning, Dr. Deshpande mentioning that innovation comes with risk-taking, dimension. We have been that entity across. And to just describe who we are the thread that connects all the pearls in the agri ecosystem, so to say. We work with farmers, we work with FPOs, we work with agri enterprises, we work with...
All previous people were different. Actually, now we are talking to a farmer who is leading one of the most profitable and successful FPO, about which I mentioned in every forum, including with the Agriculture Union, Agriculture Minister and everyone. That is the seeds in Tamil Nadu. If you really look into this one, actually, Mr. Pandian was a farmer and he has become an entrepreneur. And things everybody talks about technology, but Pandian is a master in the social technology. That is the technology where the social mobilization happens so fast. Because keeping a herd of 3,000 plus farmers is not a small job. So that is where actually I want to invite him. So now actually I request Pandianji to speak.
Tamil, please.
I also just want to mention that Mr. Pandian comes from a family which has participated in the Bhudan movement. His father was a volunteer in the Bhudan movement. And he himself has joined the Bhudan movement soon after his 10th standard, perhaps. And that's how his community mobilization, skills come together. So, privileged to be here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to all. Thank to Deshpande, Nimal Deshpande Foundation. And also, Sinthala sir, one time, எங்கள் ஆஃபீஸ்க்கு வந்தாங்க. ஒரு நாள் தான் வந்து வரும்போது எங்கள் ஜிஜிஎம், எங்கள் நபார்ட், டிடிஎம் என்ன சொன்னாங்கன்னா, சார் வருவார் 10 நிமிஷத்துக்கு மேலே இருக்க மாட்டார் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி சொன்னாங்க. பட் அவர் வந்து அந்த என்டையர் அக்ரிகல்ச்சர் ஒரு வேல்யூஷன் ஹப்பே உருவாக்கியிருக்கோம். ஃபார்மர்ஸ் ஃபார்ம் கேட்லேருந்து வாங்கிட்டு வந்து ப்ராசஸ் பண்ணுறது, கிரேட் பண்ணி அதை வேல்யூ அடிஷன் பண்ணி அதில் வர்ற அந்த உளுந்து, உட உளுந்து இதெல்லாம் வந்து பேட்டராக மாற்றுறோம். அந்த தவிடு வந்து மாட்டுக்கு டிராக்டரில் ஃபார்மர்ஸ் எடுத்துப்பாங்க. இப்போ என்டையர் அந்த பல்சஸை வந்து எதுவுமே வேஸ்ட் இல்லை. சார் பார்த்துட்டு 10 நிமிஷம்னு சொன்னவங்க 2 hours இருந்து எங்கள் கூட இருந்து எங்களை ரொம்ப பாராட்டினாங்க. அவருடைய பாராட்டு, உத்வேகம் ரொம்ப எங்களுக்கு ஒரு அடுத்த கட்டத்துக்கு போகிறதுக்கு உண்டான இருந்துச்சு. எங்கே போனாலும் எந்த போகிறதுலையுமே நான் லாஸ்ட் டைம் டெல்லியில் அப்பவும் சார் இருந்தாங்க கூட, சமநிதி சார். டெல்லியில் வந்து நேஷ்னல் பெஸ்ட் எபிஓ அப்போ அவார்டு, நேஷ்னல் லெவலில் பெஸ்ட் எபிஓ அவார்டு வந்து ஆக்சஸ் லைவ்லிஹுட் ஃபவுண்டேஷனில் ரோபோ ஃபவுண்டேஷன் கொடுத்தாங்க. அதை சார் கையில் தான் வாங்கினேன். நபார்ட் சேர்மனாக இருந்தார் சிந்தாலா சார், அவர் கையில் வாங்கினேன். பட்டு அவார்டை வாங்கிட்டு நான் வந்துட்டேன். பட் திருப்பி கூப்பிட்டு அந்த மேடையில் என்னை ரெக்கக்னைஸ் பண்ணாங்க. இந்த ரெக்கக்னைஸ் பண்ணுறது வந்து இன்னும் நிறைய ஓடணும். இன்னும் நம்ம நிறைய விவசாயிகளை வந்து நம்ம மொபிலைஸ் பண்ணி ஒரு நெட்வொர்க்காக கொண்டு வந்து அந்த டெக்னாலஜி இப்போ வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா விவசாயி எல்லா வேலையும் பார்க்குறாங்க. அந்த சாயில் டெஸ்டிங்லேருந்து அவங்க அவங்க பூச்சி மருந்து அடிக்க பேக்கேஜ் ஆஃப் ப்ராக்டிசஸ்ன்னு சொல்கிறோம். அந்த பேக்கேஜ் ஆஃப் ப்ராக்டிசஸில் டெக்னாலஜி வந்து ஈஸியாக கிடைக்கிறது இல்லை யாருக்கு, ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு. ஏன்னா அவங்க வந்து ஒரு பிளாக்கு ஒரு ஏவோ தான் இருப்பாங்க. கிட்டத்தட்ட அவர் 5000 ஃபார்மர்ஸை பார்க்கணும். இப்போ அவங்களுக்கு அடாப்டுக்கு யாரோ அவங்க கடையில் சொல்கிற மருந்தை வாங்கி அடிப்பாங்க. ஸோ அந்த பேக்கேஜ் ஆஃப் ப்ராக்டிசஸில் டெக்னாலஜியை நம்ம எப்படி ஜிபிஎஸ் முறையில் அதை கொண்டு வரலாம், அதுக்கு உண்டான இதை வந்து ஸ்கீமை நம்ம கொண்டு வந்தோம்னா இன்னமும் வந்து ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு ப்ரொடக்டிவிட்டியை என்ஹான்ஸ் பண்ணலாம். பேக்கேஜ் ஆஃப் இது வந்து அதே மாதிரி போஸ்ட் ஹார்வெஸ்ட்டில் வந்து பார்த்திங்கன்னா, போஸ்ட் ஹார்வெஸ்ட்டில் வந்து அந்த என்டையர் அந்த போஸ்ட் ஹார்வெஸ்ட்டை வந்து நம்ம அந்த ஃபார்ம் கேட்டில் வந்து ப்ரைமரி ப்ராசஸிங் அப்படி கொண்டு வரும்போது பார்ட்டிசிபேட்டரி மெத்தடாக இருக்கும் ஃபார்மர்ஸ். இப்போ நீங்கள் சார் ஏற்கனவே இங்கே பேசும்போது சொன்னாங்க, அந்த ஃபார்மர்ஸ் வந்து ஃபார்ம் கேட்லேயே அப்படியே விற்றுட்டு போயிடுறாரு அப்படின்னு இல்லாமல் அந்த வில்லேஜ் லெவலில் இல்லை ரெவென்யூ வில்லேஜ் லெவலில் ஒரு அந்த ஃபார்மர்ஸ்லாம் ஒருங்கிணைச்சி ஒரு ப்ரைமரி ப்ராசஸிங் அப்படின்றபோது அப்படியே ராவை வந்து ப்ராசஸ் பண்ணுறது, ப்ரைமரி ப்ராசஸிங் கிரேட் பண்ணி அவங்க செகண்டரி ப்ராசஸிங்கே அந்த எஃப்யூ இருக்கணும். ப்ரைமரி ப்ராசஸிங்கில் அந்த பீப்புளே பார்ட்டிசிபேட் பண்ணும்போது அந்த எஃப்யூ வில் சஸ்டைனபிள். ஏன்னா அவங்க அதில் பார்ட்டிசிபேட் பண்ணுறாங்க. இப்போ இல்லைன்னு வந்தால் எப்பயும் ஒன் ஆஃப் த ட்ரேடர் அப்படின்ற ஒரு மனப்பான்மை வந்து மக்கள் மத்தியில் வரும். ஸோ அதனால் வந்து அந்த ப்ரைமரி ப்ராசஸிங்கை நம்ம கொண்டு வரதுக்கு உண்டான பிளானெல்லாம் நாங்கள் போட்டு வச்சுருக்கோம். இன்னொன்று நாங்கள் ஸ்டார்ட் அப் பண்ண மார்க்கெட்டிங் சைட் பார்த்திங்கன்னா பெரிய பெரிய கார்ப்பரேட் கம்பெனிகிட்ட தான் போய் விற்கணும் அப்படின்னு இல்லை. நாங்கள் ஃபஸ்ட்டு செலக்ட் பண்ண டொமஸ்டிக் மார்க்கெட். ப்ரொடியூசரே ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ணி நம்மகிட்ட கொடுக்குறாரு, ஏன் அவரே கன்சியூமர் ஆகக்கூடாது அப்படின்றனால அங்கேயே வேல்யூ எடிஷன் பண்ணி அந்த பொருளை திருப்பி ஃபஸ்ட்டு எங்கள் ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கே கொடுத்தோம். ஒரு பேக் வந்து 1000 rupees, ஒரு மாதத்துக்கு தேவையான கிராசரி ஐட்டம்ஸ் ஃபுல்லாக இருக்கும். ஒரு 1000 rupees, 2000 rupees அவங்களுடைய அவங்க லிவிங் கண்டிஷனை பொறுத்து அவங்க ஃபார்மர்ஸ் கொடுத்தோம். ஃபஸ்ட்டு அந்த டொமஸ்டிக் சேல்ஸ் தான் நமக்கு சஸ்டைனபிலிட்டியாக இருக்கும். ஒரு கார்பரேட் இப்போ எடுக்கிறாருன்னா இன்னொருத்தர் ரேட் கம்மியாக கொடுத்தா அங்கே போயிடுவாங்க எடுக்க. பட் இந்த மார்க்கெட் நம்ம ஷேர் ஹோல்டர்ஸ் நம்மளோட உள்ள ஃபார்மர்ஸ் மார்க்கெட் எப்போவுமே போகாது. அது எஃப்யூஓவுக்கு ஒரு டொமஸ்டிக் மார்க்கெட்டை நாங்கள் ஃபஸ்ட் இனிஷியேட் பண்ணோம். அதில் இப்போ அடுத்த செகண்டரி லெவலில் என்ன பண்ணியிருக்கோன்னா ஃபார்மர்ஸ் மார்ட்டுன்னு வில்லேஜ் லெவலில் சின்ன சின்ன ஒரு 10க்கு 10 கடையை ஓப்பன் பண்ணியிருக்கோம். அதில் வந்து அந்த கடையில் வந்து அந்த ஷேர் ஹோல்டர் அங்கே உள்ள அந்த ஷேர் ஹோல்டர்ஸ் வந்து ஒருத்தர் வந்து 2-3 அங்கே பேர் ஒர்க் பண்ணுவாங்க. அங்கேருந்து இங்கே நம்ம கொண்டு ப்ராசஸ் பண்ணுற பொருளை வந்து மக்களுக்கு கிராமத்து ஷேர் ஹோல்டர்ஸ் விற்கிறோம், அப்புறம் மக்களும் வாங்குறாங்க. அதே மாதிரி உளுந்து பாசி பல்சஸ் ஐட்டம் பூரா அங்கே போட்டுக்குருவாங்க, அங்கே கிரேட் பண்ணி திருப்பி அந்த எஃப்யூக்கு வரும். இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு வேல்யூஷன் இதை நாங்கள் ப்ராசஸை மேற்கொள்கிறோம். நாங்கள் இந்த டெக்னாலஜி அடாப்ட் பண்ணாதது எந்தன்னா போஸ்ட் ஹார்வெஸ்ட்டில் ப்ரீ ஹார்வெஸ்ட்டில் டெக்னாலஜி இன்னும் அடாப்ட் பண்ணல. அந்தளவுக்கு எங்களுக்கு இன்னும் நாலேஜும் இல்லை. அதை கொண்டு வரதுக்கு உண்டான முயற்சிகளை வந்து நபார்டு, சமூகநிதி இந்த மாதிரி நிறுவனங்களோடு சேர்ந்து அதை நாங்கள் பண்ணினா ப்ரீ ஹார்வெஸ்ட் டெக்னாலஜி தான் நம்ம வந்து நிறைய வந்து சேவ் பண்ணலாம். ப்ரொடக்டிவிட்டி என்ஹான்ஸ் பண்ணால் தான் நல்ல ரேட் கிடைக்கும். இப்போ சாயில் டெஸ்டிங்கில் நம்ம ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி கரெக்டாக அந்த சாயில் டெஸ்டிங் பண்ணி அதை பேஸ் பண்ணி நம்ம கொண்டு வரும்போது அந்த விளைச்சல் எதிர்பார்த்த எக்ஸ்பெக்டேஷன் கிடைக்கிறதுக்கு சான்ஸ் இருக்குது. இன்னொன்று வந்து கார்ப்பரேட் வந்து நம்ம ஒரு பொருள் ஒருத்தர் சோப் கம்பெனி ஆரம்பிக்கிறாரு அப்படின்னா அது வந்து ஃபினிஷிங் ஆகி அவர் ரேட்டை கரெக்டாக ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்ணிடுறாரு, இந்த ரேட்டு தான். பட் ஃபார்மர்ஸை ரேட்டை ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்ண முடியாது. ஏன்னா எக்ஸ்டர்னல் ஃபேக்டர்ஸ் நிறையா இருக்குது. ஒரு கம்பெனிக்கு இப்போ வேக்குல் மாதிரி கம்பெனிக்கு நம்ம ஒரு 500 டன் தர்றோன்னு சொல்லி எம்ஓஐ போடுறோம். பட் அந்த திடீர்னு நம்ம ஹார்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணும்போது அந்த மழை பெஞ்சு அது அந்த பூரா அழியாயிரும். ஸோ ரிஸ்க் ஃபேக்டர் வந்து ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு நிறைய நேச்சுரல் கலாமெட்டிக்ஸ், நேச்சுரல் ரிஸ்க் ஃபேக்டர் அதிகமாக இருக்குது. அப்போ நம்ம அந்த கிரெடிட் ஃபைனான்ஸ் போகும்போது அந்த நேச்சுரல் கலாமிட்டி ரிஸ்க்கை வந்து மைக்ரோ லெவலில் ஜிபிஎஸ் முறையில் அந்த லாஸை தடுக்கிறதுக்கு ஃபார்மர் சப்போர்ட் பண்ணால் இஸ் எ வெரி குட் ஃபார்மருடைய லைவ்லிஹுட் இம்ப்ரூவ் ஆகுன்றது என்னுடைய கோரிக்கையாக வச்சு எனக்கு இந்த இங்கே பார்ட்டிசிபேட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு வாய்ப்பு சிந்தாரா சாருக்கு ரொம்ப நன்றி கூறி வரைபடுகிறேன்.
Thank you, Pandanji. Hope everybody has understood Tamil. Though I cannot speak, but things I have understood the entire thing. As he was telling, it is totally because technology generally, whenever we speak in this kind of a forums, technology means everybody thought it's information technology. Actually, it is not. He has done so much that agriculture technology, whatever is available, actually he has appropriated. If you just go to his FPO, actually you will wonder. An FPO has got a color Sartex machine. Actually, can you believe? And his producers and the buyers are the very big people, actually, whether it is Reliance Fresh or everything. And he supplies maybe from that a little bit of a brokens of the paddy, brokens of the urad dal and everything. Actually, he makes an idli dough. And when that ID is selling at 70 rupees, actually he sells at 20 rupees. So now he is making the entire thing, the ecosystem so great. And every appropriate technology which he got, actually he is putting into it. That is why, actually, I can say that we need to have such kind of a technology appreciators at the ground level who should be the leaders of this farmers movement and the farmers institutions like FPOs. So a big clap to Pandyanji. And now we'll go to Dhanlakshmi, because Bayer Foundation has got so many things which they are doing everywhere. It's a very big tech-based company which is into production of so many things, including the seeds, pesticides and everything. And their contribution is immense to the productivity improvement and also the protection of the crops. So now I would like Dhanlakshmi to speak as to what exactly she is doing.
Thank you, Dr. Chintala. First of all, thanks to the organization for this opportunity to be here, and deeply humbled to be a part of this esteemed panel, because in front of the experience that they have, I probably am still a novice in the entire space. And I'd really like to take off from where Mr. Pandian stopped, you know. He said a very nice thing towards the end of his talk. He said, when the harvest is there and, you know, the corporate has come to buy the harvest, but there are natural calamities that have affected the harvest. So is there a way that the GPS technology can be used? So that, I think, is such a big, need that itself speaks of the need for technology to be there on the field. And technology at multiple levels, multiple dimensions. So I think it was so nice when he said, if you can track the produce, the amount of produce back to the farmer's field, then probably it's much easier for the organizations or the banks to disperse the loans. So that is, you know, a fair assessment happens, which we know is a big challenge these days. To talk about the Bayer Foundation, what Dr. Chintala mentioned in terms of the productivity increase that we do, the seeds and the hybrids that we produce, that is part of the business that Bayer does. So Bayer Foundation, which is the CSR arm for the Bayer group of companies in India, we are working today with 40 FPOs across 7 states. And our intention is to revive the defunct FPOs. We do not want to reinvent the wheel. The FPOs are already there. They've been formed from the last 5-6 years, but they need to become sustainable. I think that is where our focus is. How is it that we can make them sustainable? So first of all, what we do is, when we think of farmers, they are nothing but consumers for us. So that is the first C that I want to talk about. They consume seeds, they consume fertilizers, they consume inputs. And at the other end of the spectrum, we also have consumers in terms of, people like us who consume the food. So the consumer is a huge player in the entire agri-value chain. And, we want to bring the technology to the farmers, especially when we look at from the input side, help them with technologies that will tell them where they need to go to get good input seeds, the right quality inputs to get better productivity. So that's the first piece. The second thing, and this is more of an expectation, is the connectivity. So there are technologies that are there across every, single aspect of the ag value chain. But is it connected? A very simple example is, soil health. So we have brought technology to the FPOs. We have deployed portable soil health testing facilities. But once the testing is done, are the farmers able to, look at the results, identify what needs to be done, source the right inputs? So, that is the second C that I would like to talk about, the connectivity. So an appeal to, all the tech solution providers here, how can we connect some of these dots to enable the farmers? The third C, what I would like to talk about is the capacity building. So capacity building for the farmers itself. And that exactly is a huge part of the focus that we are doing as part of our FPO program. Building their capacity in simple terms, first of all, to run their FPOs from a governance perspective, from a compliance perspective. So these are aspects that they need to be capacitated. The second, digital. Digital is an in thing now, but do our farmers understand how to use some of those technologies? And that exactly is what we are doing as part of our program. Helping the farmers with digital literacy, helping them understand how they can use some of these technologies. And with so many technologies, there is also a challenge of what is the right technology to use. So that is another big piece that we are doing.
Thank you, Dhanlakshmi. It's very great that what you are doing. Now we'll change our tack a bit and go to the next level of discussion. Why, when Anil told that I did not tell, actually I don't want them to know actually what I have to ask them. Otherwise there will be no thrill in this one, because any movie should have a suspense. Now, actually, I take a leaf from what Lalitesh was telling at the time. Technology may be an enabler, but technology can be weaponized. And this is what actually I said. I was reading a book on Walmart and the atrocities they committed all over the world, because there was a book written by somebody. So now, many farmers were impoverished after the ERP platform of Walmart has been rolled out all over the world. Because for the stores of Walmart to keep the prices abysmally low for the consumer purpose, they went on depressing the prices at the farmer level because the ERP platform they were there. So in that way, the technology has been weaponized and the people who were associated with them have got. So now, the present day, actually what we are telling, actually when he was telling that, Santanu was telling that SBI is a 218-year-old startup, or maybe this kind of a thing. Now the present day startups are again reinventing the wheel in some form. Only the technology is undergoing a change. Earlier from the manual kata, we went into the Excel sheet, to the ERP, now to a different kind of a platform. And we are trying, because now it's called the Uber platform, which is the universal, and Uberization has become like a surf. Now, actually, with this kind of a thing, what happens is sometimes probably the technology will play the role of God, because all the people who are hitched to that will not be able to move out of this one. So now, are we entering to such kind of a terrain? If that is the case, actually, what are the safeguards actually which we have to keep it? Because ultimately, the entire interest of every one of us is to keep the farmer profitable and happy, not the people who are there in between to do this kind of thing. If that is the case, really, how actually we are going to do that one? Now, I would ask Vekul, really, because now you are giving him the prediction, you are giving really how much the price and all those things. Whether over a period of time, is it going to become a kind of an obstacle to the farmer because he will become over-dependent on you and not exploring the markets? So now I just want you to reflect.
Dr. Chintala, the risk is real. Having said that, I think the first defense against that risk is India itself. The nature of the market, the extent of fragmentation, and governance limits that exist for any physical organization in India will ensure that technology cannot be weaponized to the extent that it has been in the West. This is an extremely difficult country to physically do business in, and therefore, beyond a point, an organization, this will never be a winner-takes-all platform. So to that extent, there is a natural defense. The second is, frankly, this is something that we are conscious of. We have been set up with very clear social impact metrics. All our investors in that are in that nature. So from Vekul's perspective, we have put safeguards in place. The first thing is the point you made. We don't sell our food cheap. We genuinely believe that how do you generate trickle down? Only when people pay a fair price for good quality food. And this is supported by consumer behavior. I had the same argument in my rice line of business. When my sales team came back and said, sir, our prices are high, the retailer is not buying. So we went to all the arisi mandis, as we call them in Tamil Nadu, and we sat and observed what the buyer was doing. The second or third highest price rice was the most selling. The consumer felt guilty buying an inexpensive rice because she felt it was not the right quality. She felt equally guilty buying the most expensive rice because it was too expensive. So we said, look, there is a parameter of association of quality with price. We should leverage that and price our products fairly. Only then there is enough headroom. And as a corporate, I need more headroom than the traditional trader because I have PF, ESI, all sorts of costs of governance and compliance sit upon my books. The next thing that we measure is, how do I squeeze my footprint? We have a mandate to tread lightly in terms of our own cost and our own impact on the environmental footprint. I will cover cost because that is relevant here. We heavily automate our processes. Our warehouses will have more conveyors and robots than humans in them because that is the only way I can make this scalable and keep my costs low. If I keep my cost low, the surplus available is better with the farmer. And frankly, the farmer being an entrepreneur will stick with me as long as they have a surplus when they work with me. So predictability is my first step. As my automation matures, I'm able to pass on a little more to the farmer. That becomes a subsequent step. Now we are penetrating further with our agri extension program. We are encouraging multi-cropping. For example, we have our Outgrow digital platform, which may address some of the concerns that Pandian sir had expressed. Guides farmers on package of practices, helps them detect diseases, soil health test is integrated along with recommendations and a call center that supports the farmers. We are also having a demonstrator farm where in 3 acres we grow 120 varieties of fruits and vegetables. It's just outside Bangalore. And this farm yields income every single day of the year. And this completely follows regenerative agricultural practices, 0 inputs from outside. We have a farm pond that feeds the aquifer and is powered by operated by a solar-powered pump and so on. These practices have now been showcased to about 40 FPOs and about 1,000 individual farmers. And the same practices are available digitally for dissemination. So this makes sure that we have every farmer that works with us as part of this program, we know their P&L. And we keep monitoring what is there before and after P&L. Lastly, we tell every farmer not to work with us on an exclusive basis. Saying, you have to hedge, I have to hedge. If you are having 3 acres, please only dedicate 1 acre for me. 2 acres you have in the market. It will also help test whether I am delivering results or not. They have a control group and an experiment group, and they are smart enough to take the calls accordingly. So these are the self-safeguards that we have put. So I think India and our self-safeguards hopefully will, at least from our side, save this.
Yeah. So now I have a question to Ram Devi, because he is dealing with the most unorganized, that is the fish. And if the business is a fishy, then it's very difficult. And at the same time, there is an adage that actually you don't know when the fish is swimming in the water, whether it is swallowing water or not taking it. We don't know whether Ram's business has got such kind of a margin, whether he is swallowing margin at the cost of the farmers or not. Actually, I want him to reflect.
Thank you, Doctor. So, yeah, it is a very complex business. And in fact, when we looked at the unorganized nature of it, but the main driver, because for almost 3 decades being in agriculture, actually why I had to look at this fishy product. So the main reason being, it is a $23 billion kind of size of market. And absolutely nobody, particularly in the B2B side. B2C, we have seen a fair amount of companies came in there, but B2B, absolutely nobody is there. And so that is the reason what we have seen is, so we did some, because a lot of expertise and experience carried out from agriculture, because for me, it is similar. It is similar. And moreover, when this company is born post-COVID, in fact, we looked at very, very diligently post-COVID, India has gone through some changes, some structural changes. So one is the digital payment has taken off tremendously, because even at a footpath level also, GPay, PhonePe, the usage has become tremendous. And particularly for this category, because you buy at around morning 2 o'clock, and after that, he needs payment in half second. There's no way from a corporate regime you can go and do the payment. So you had to depend upon so many agents, brokers. Obviously, the transaction cost will increase. So that is where actually we are simply transferring money at 2 o'clock through a wallet. So that is one big change came in, the digital. Obviously, the technology is helping there. And if you look at another thing post-COVID, what it changed is, because we looked at what is the technology, whether it is agriculture, horticulture, or fisheries, wherever, what are the challenges for today and what are the factors? Because here, sitting so many enthusiastic startups and so many experienced people sitting here, from my experience, what I feel is, first is the predictability, what Karthik has touched upon, because that is where the technology will bring predictability, because it is a big problem in India, because whether it is a supply chain predictability, whether it is a demand predictability, anything. So the predictability is the first problem, and the second biggest problem is perishability. If you take any category, for that matter, commodities or horticulture or even fish or whatever it will be in billions. Billions. So that is, perishability is another problem. And of course, these businesses need to be, profitability is the most important thing, because these businesses need to survive on its own. So what we did is, we applied a lot of principles, what we picked up over a period of time, and mostly from fresh category. So we applied here. So what we are doing today is, we have done a time and motion study for this category, the fish and prawn. It is astonishing. This category is, the touch points are 74. And out of that, we tried to segregate these touch points, and more than 50-60% of the touch points are duplication. And it is not only increasing the cost of the transaction, but it is also delaying the transaction. And also, most importantly, it will apply to Karthik also, because a touch on a banana will result into black spot. The moment it becomes a black spot, the value is eroded by 60-70%. So like that, even in this category also, when this kind of duplication and multi-handling is happening, so there is a lot of abuse happening to the product, and it is resulting into huge wastage. In fact, in this category, the wastage is somewhere around 16 to 18%. Horrible. So we looked at the per capita of this category in India is 7 kilos per head per annum. And ideally, for the production what we do in India, it should be around 30 kilos. So there is a huge head space, and there are a lot of interventions like us. So many companies are needed to solve this problem. So that is why we took that. But one point I would like to bring in here is, for any category, whether it is commodities or fruits and vegetables, or for that matter, the fish, India needs both grids, the physical grid, the buying infrastructure, the haulage infrastructure, which is the supply chain, and the storage infrastructure, and ultimately the sales infrastructure. The physical we cannot avoid, because the so-called outside solutions cannot suit India, because for the sheer fragmentation and the bottlenecks what our country has got. So we need to accept that, because India is India. So we need to come out with whatever technological solution. With that understanding, we cannot change the complete complexity of India. We need to customize the solution to that. So for example, a pond is there. Obviously, the vehicle cannot go to the pond, where you need to use a rickshaw or a tractor. So that is the kind of customization we need to bring in here. But can you scale up and bring in efficiencies only through physical infrastructure? Absolutely not. That is where the digital infrastructure is needed. But the digital infrastructure, what we feel is, most of our startups and a lot of interventions, innovations revolve around agriculture per se. But from my experience of handling so many commodities and really being the practitioner of those value chains, what I feel is, because these are the interventions where you need to look at agriculture from the eyes of farmer. In fact, in US, there is a report called Farmer Intention Report. Every week it is updated. Crop-wise, Farmer Intention Report comes in. It is such a huge, because its value, if you put it, it is multi-billion-dollar. Because every week, for every crop, farmer, what he is thinking, whether it is bullish, bearish, whether you want to hold on the crop, whether he is worried about the weather. So these are the kind of farmer intentions we need to pick up. Those are the kind of interventions we need to bring in from the technology side. And apart from that, actually, not only this part, in fact, we all need to recognize information is margin. Any information is margin. Earlier days, when internet was not there or internet was expensive, the information used to be with the intermediaries, that is the middlemen. So there is no reason for middlemen to hold the information. In today's context, it is not possible also, because it's been already democratized through a mobile. So, but can we live without an intermediary in India? Absolutely not. So he is very smart in delivering those things, and you take your price, but free the information. I think that is where, in fact, the structure need to be seen. And that is why when we are talking about value chain, so we only need to look at farmer, the producer, and the end, the consumer. And in between, whoever is playing any role in between, in fact, we need to bring in this physical, digital kind of matrix, but with a customized solutions. And the last point I want to make is, if you are talking about farmers, there is no use in India talking about farmer as farmer. Because in India, we need to see farmer as crop-wise farmer. Because if you go to coffee farmer is also a farmer, aquaculture farmer is also a farmer, bajra farmer is also a farmer, palak farmer is also a farmer. But the behavior, the requirements, the everything, the socio-techno-commercial needs of each segment is very, very different. So we need to understand farmer by crop-wise. So I think that is where we'll get real practical solutions.
Thank you. Great, very nice kind of a thing. Now we are going to Anil, and here I'll say that maybe the bankers are here. Shakespeare has immortalized the bankers in the Merchant of Venice as Shylocks. So now Anil is the new Shylock, who is also in the kind of a banking industry. And as that time Litesh and also Venki were telling that the people are getting the money at 18% to 35%. I'm not sure actually how much actually Anil's company is charging. But thing is that he got a tech platform and so he's able to reach. But thing is whether this is really creating a kind of a prime mover advantage for Anil. And in that process, is he charging maybe a very high interest rates to the farmers? Or is he willing to devise new products because the technology is enabling him to reduce the cost of all those things. So now, fintech itself is a very big kind of an enterprise. Actually, now that is where actually Anil is working on it. So I want him to tell really as to how this fintech approach, which he has taken up, is solving the credit needs, and particularly in the farmer context and FPO context, nobody talks about the working capital. Actually, farmer also needs working capital. Though actually we just give farmer a crop loan, terming it as any kind of thing. But actually they need, because now I have seen integrated farming systems, as what he was telling, Karthik was telling. If a farmer is growing around 160 types of crops, actually every day he gets a cash and every day he requires cash. So if that is the case, actually there should be a kind of a mechanism to give a kind of a working capital limits where the farmer can take it, put it back and do everything. So how actually Anil is taking advantage of the technology to do such kind of thing, because every entry has to be balanced with the entry, outflow or inflow. So that is where actually I want Anil to reflect upon.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for two things. One, for giving this question. Two, now I know why you had not shared this question earlier. Okay, so first and foremost, let me take the rate of interest dimension. It is a challenge. It is a challenge both for the provider and the recipient. As Samunati, I'm a non-bank finance company. And even for the banks to lend to non-bank finance company, you require the track record of 3 years, profitable track record. For NABARD to give a credit guarantee for the loans given by NBFC, you need a AAA rating. Now, a AAA rated NBFC, in NBFC world, they are gods, right? So I am BBB plus stable entity after 8 years of functioning, after lending and doing market linkages of 15,000 crores, after reaching 4,600 FPOs in our FPO gateway, so on and so forth. Now the borrowing, when Samunati had its first borrowing, was 21.75. Right? That was my first borrowing, which I did in March 2016. 31st March 2016 was my first loan. Now the same entity at this point in time is lending to me at 12.75. So my weighted average borrowing is about 13.5%. That's my weighted average. I wish I get 0%, 4%, subvention, all of that. All of us know I don't want to belabor the point that NBFCs are not preferred vehicles for all these government schemes. Why? I don't know, because if the beneficiary is what is important for us, we have to be vehicle agnostic, right? And we have a reach, we work with as many entities. But let me come back. Our lending to the FPO segment is not even cost plus. We lend at, we started at 14%. In a way, our agri enterprises, Karthik actually cross-subsidizes my lending to Pandian sir. That's how, we have been managing our cost of borrowing. But going back to your question or your comment on the working capital, it's important for FPOs, and more important, it's less about the FPOs and the farmers. It is the market that basically determines at what rate the farmer should be borrowing. And I certainly would request Venki, one of these days you may want to go and ask, I'm sure you know the answer. You may want to go and ask the farmers and the FPOs in terms of what do they care for? Is access timely and opportunity cost dimension, or free money at some point in time, right? Now, I was in Shillong, actually near Cherrapunji, about a month ago, and I understood how less informed people who are supporting the FPOs are in the dimension of opportunity cost. This is an example that I have started sharing, and I would certainly share here. This is where areca nut is actually bought from Assam, fermented in Guwahati, in Shillong, and then exported back to Guwahati to the same guy. I don't know why the trader in Guwahati cannot ferment the areca nut. I don't have an understanding, but this is what I heard from a village cooperative society there. Each truckload costs about 15 lakhs. 3 months is the time horizon, and you get 25 lakhs. These are the numbers. So we asked, how much are you, how many truckloads you are doing? They said 1 truckload. What is the capacity that you have? 3 truckloads. What happened to the other 2 truckloads? There is no money to buy the 15 lakh container each time. So why can't you borrow? It is expensive. Can someone lend to you? Yes, but you are at 18%. I can't manage. What is the rate at which you are getting? 10%. Now let us do the math, is what we said. A 15 lakh loan at 10% for 3 months, annualized, comes to an interest rate of interest payout, not the rate, an amount of 37,500 rupees. That's the interest that you pay. You can do the math. Now the same 15 lakh rupee loan at 18% for the same tenor, 3 months, annualized is 67,500. The difference, friends, is 30,000 rupees. Now if the opportunity is to earn, forget about 10 lakhs, maybe it is inflated. Take 1/3 of it. If the opportunity is 3 lakhs for you on an investment of 15 lakhs, and if there is a delta of 30,000 rupees to be paid extra to earn 2,70,000 net, does it hurt? It doesn't hurt. But that doesn't mean that organizations like Sammunati should not look at reducing the cost of borrowing for the farmers, and that is where we are forging partnerships with banks like State Bank of India. We have a co-lending partnership, and we are grateful for the support, which straight away brings down the rate of interest. And one of the preconditions that they have put to us for the co-lending partnership is put a ceiling on, this is the maximum rate of interest that you can charge to the FPOs. 80% is reimbursed by them, and we still make money. Those kind of partnerships will have to be forged, so that we proactively work with entities that care the credit history that gets created by a reasonably priced loan, whatever Sherlock Holmes says, reasonably priced loan. And when the larger amounts are required, when the sector matures, is when larger banks find it more convenient to reach out to the sector. I was in the livelihood conference last week. One remark that suddenly popped up and I shared is usually banks come last. When a movie is about to end and climax is over, and then when the police come with a gun and then say, hey, we are here to keep the peace and law and order, they come the last. By that time, the chaos is created, the climax is done, and everything is solved. But then the more important thing is there is happiness ever after. The movie ends, right? And there is happiness ever after. So banks have to come into this segment for the happiness ever after to be a reality. And that is where entities like Sammunati have to play a role in showcasing to the banks that while there is information asymmetry, it's not that there is no information. Information is available. How do you read that information is an important dimension. Can we bring in the dimensions of market linkages? Can we bring in the dimension of access to technology? We all talk about smartphones, in the rural areas. Most of them are 2G enabled. You don't have 4G smartphones. Can we play the role in converting 2G to 4G in rural, areas, and then provide access to technology for the farmers? And last but not the least, can we put a farmer at the center and entities that are driven by inner conscience, so to say, being part of this ecosystem. Those are the things that make different. Rest of it is transactional.
Thank you. Great, actually.
Thank you.
You have not felt intimidated. But now I have a strange question to Pandyanji also. Now you heard Anil, you heard everyone, and thing is now really the bankers come in the last. Whether the banker has come at all to you or only the NBFCs have come. That is the first. And second thing, actually I have a very peculiar, because now having seen the cooperative history for the past 100 years, and my being in the system for the past 37 years, I see that the primary agricultural credit societies of 100 years back are exactly the FPOs of today. They were organized to have a common benefit, to do the kind of a thing. Over a period of time, they have become bureaucratized. They stifle their customers, and many times people may not get much. And there is a cartelization of the loanees, and only the big fellows will get the whole thing. So I want to ask Pandyan Saab that do you expect that after some time, because now you will be at the helm for 10 years, you feel that you can really become a boss and boss over the masses without giving a kind of a democratic representation to the people? Because ultimately, that is what actually has become a bad thing for the cooperatives. And I feel that it should not happen to the FPOs. So what exactly you feel that really how this kind of a pitfall should be stopped?
தேங்க்யூ சார். சார் கேட்டாங்க பேங்க் வந்து ஃபஸ்ட் வந்து NDFC இனிஷியலி வந்து நம்ம 2014 எப்பிஓ ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணோம். அப்போ நபார்டு உதவியோடு அதை நபார்டு சப்போர்ட்டோட வாட்ஸ்அப் ஏரியாவில் பண்ணோம். அப்போ வந்து ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு நாங்கள் உள்ளே போய் அவங்களோட ஒரு ஸ்டடி பண்ணும்போது ஒர்க்கிங் கேபிட்டல் நீடு இல்லாதனால ட்ரேடர் டிபெண்ட் பண்ணியிருக்கிறோம். ஒர்க்கிங் கேபிட்டல் நீடு இருந்துச்சுன்னா எங்களுக்கு வந்து நாங்கள் ட்ரேடர் டிபெண்ட் பண்ண மாட்டோம் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி சொன்னாங்க. அந்த ட்ரேடர்ஸ்ட்டை போடும்போதே வந்து லாட் ஆஃப் அவங்களுக்கு வந்து விலையை எதுவும் சொல்லவும் முடியாது, நிறைய வந்து அவங்க லாஸ் ஆகுறாங்க அவங்க ரேட்டில். ஸோ அதை வந்து ஒர்க்கிங் கேபிட்டல் நீட்ஸை நம்ம சப்போர்ட் பண்ணோம். பேங்க்கில் நிறையா ட்ரை பண்ணோம். எப்போ இனிஷியல் ஸ்டேஜில் இப்போ SHG எப்படி இனிஷியல் ஸ்டேஜ் வந்து பேங்க் கொடுக்கலையோ அதை நபார்டு வந்து நிறையா எஜுகேஷன் கொடுத்தாங்க. 99ல் லீடர்ஷிப் ட்ரைனிங்கில் ஆரம்பித்து ஏகப்பட்ட இது நபார்டு அதில் பண்ணாங்க. அதே மாதிரி இது வந்து எப்பயோ ஒரு 3 years 4 years வந்து பேங்கர்ஸ் சப்போர்ட் வரல. பட் நவ் கம் ஃபார்வர்ட் ஃப்ரம் த இனிஷியலில் வந்து சமுநதி சார்ட்டை நாங்கள் வந்து அந்த என்டையர் வேல்யூ செயினை பற்றி ஒர்க்கிங் கேபிட்டல் நீடை பற்றி சார்ட்டை எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணோம். இனிஷியலி ஒரு 300 ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு வந்து அவங்க அக்செப்ட் பண்ணி ஒரு 1.5 crores ஈச் ஃபார்மர்ஸ் 30,000 rupees. எல்லாமே லேண்ட் லீஸ் ஃபார்மர்ஸ். லேண்ட் ஹோல்டிங் ஃபார்மர்ஸ் 5 acre அந்த 10 acres வச்சுருக்கவங்க லேண்ட் ஹோல்டிங் அவங்க நேமில் உள்ளவங்க எக்ஸிஸ்டிங் ஃபைனான்சியல் இன்ஸ்டியூஷனில் லோன் வாங்கிறாங்க. SBI ஆர் இந்தியன் பேங்க்கில் வாங்கிறாங்க. பட் 40% ஆஃப் த ஃபார்மர்ஸ் த லேண்ட் லீசி ஃபார்மர்ஸ். த லேண்ட் லீசி ஃபார்மர் வந்து எக்ஸிஸ்டிங் ஃபைனான்சியல் இன்ஸ்டியூஷனில் அவங்க வாங்க முடியாத ஒரு சூழலில் இருக்கிறதுனால NDFC மூலமாக நம்ம ட்ரை பண்ணதில் சார் வந்து ஃபஸ்ட்டு எங்களுக்கு வந்து சமுதாயில் அதை ஒரு 1.5 crores ஃபார்மர்ஸ் கொடுத்தாங்க. அப்போ வந்து சிந்தலா சார் சொன்ன மாதிரி இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் ஐயா இருந்தாலும் இந்த டைம்லி அண்ட் அஃபோர்டபுள் கிரெடிட் சப்போர்ட் அப்போ கிடச்சி. இப்போ ஃபார்மர்ஸ் எப்போ அவங்களுக்கு தேவைப்படும் அப்படின்னா ஒன்ஸ் ரெயின் கம்ஸ், மழை பெய்ய ஆரம்பித்த உடனே மறுநாளே அவங்களுக்கு பணம் வேணும், உடனே விதை வாங்கணும், உரம் வாங்கணும். இப்போ அவங்க முன்னோக்கூடி ப்ரீ பிளானிங்லாம் இல்லை. ப்ரீ பிளானிங் எனக்கு இப்போ வரும்போது நான் அப்படின்றதா இல்லை. இன்றைக்கி மழை பெஞ்சிருச்சா, நாளைக்கு 5 வட்டி கொடுக்குறானா 10 வட்டி கொடுக்குறாரு, உடனே வாங்கி அதை விதைக்கணும். ஸோ அப்போ அவங்க வந்து டைம்லி கிரெடிட்டை தான் அதை நாங்கள் சார்ட்டு சொன்னோம். எங்களுக்கு தக்கன அந்த ஃபார்ம்ஸை மாற்றினாங்க, அந்த இதெல்லாம் மாற்றிட்டு அதை அப்படியே கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமாக இப்போ அதை டெவலப் பண்ணி அந்த 300 ஃபார்மர்ஸோட நாங்கள் அந்த சீட்ஸ் ஃபார்மர் ப்ரொடியூசர் கம்பெனி இன்னும் ஃபஸ்ட்டு ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி ஆரம்பிச்சு 300 ஃபார்மர்ஸோடு ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணோம். அப்போ வந்து நான் சென்னையில் ஜிஜிஎம் வெங்கட் சார்னு ஒருத்தர் வந்திருந்தாங்க, அவங்க தான் துவக்கி வச்சாங்க. அப்போ பார்க்கும்போது ஃபார்மர்ஸ் இந்த அளவுக்கு ஒரு 300 ஃபார்மர்ஸ் ஒரே இடத்துல இவ்வளோ ஆர்கனைஸ் பண்ணி இவ்வளவு இதாக பண்ணியிருக்கீங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு அவங்க வந்து ரொம்ப அப்ரிசியேஷன் பண்ணாங்க. அதுக்கடுத்து கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமாக அந்த 300 ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு நாங்கள் கொடுக்க வந்தோடனே அடுத்து அந்த 300 பேர்ட்டையும் அந்த பொருள் எடுத்தோம். இது வந்து ஸ்ப்ரெட் ஆகி கிட்டத்தட்ட இப்போ நியர்லி 5000 ஃபார்மர்ஸ் வந்து அந்த எப்பிஓவில் ஷேர் ஹோல்டர்ஸாக இருக்காங்க. கிட்டத்தட்ட நியர்லி 60-70,000 70% ஃபார்மர்ஸ் தான் ஃபார்ம் கேட்டில் எடுக்கிறோம். ஃபார்ம் கேட்டில் நம்ம எடுக்கிறதுல என்ன ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு பெனிஃபிட் ஆகுதுன்னா, ஃபஸ்ட்டு இடையில ப்ராப்ளம் வெயிட்டேஜில் ஒரு ட்ரேடர் வந்து வெயிட்டில் கிட்டத்தட்ட 5 kg ஃபார் 50 kg பேக்கில் 5 kg அடிச்சிடுவாங்க. அப்போ இது வந்து எலக்ட்ரானிக் த்ரெஸ் 5 கிலோ அவங்களுக்கு மிச்சமாகுது, வெயிட்டில் சேவ் ஆகுது, டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட் சேவ் ஆகுது, டைம்லி ஸ்பாட் பேமெண்ட் நம்ம கொடுத்தோம். ஸோ இது வரைக்கும் அப்படி பண்ணும்போது நியர்லி ஏற்கனவே ஒரு மீட்டிங்கில் சொன்ன மாதிரி 20-30% ஆஃப் த சேவ் ஆகுது ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு. அப்போ அந்த இது பண்ணோம். இப்போ வந்து அடுத்து வந்து மெயின் ஸ்ட்ரீமில் வந்து பேங்கர்ஸ் இப்போ 4 வருஷத்து 5வது வருஷத்தில் வந்திருக்காங்க. யூனியன் பேங்க் ஆஃப் இந்தியா ஃபஸ்ட்டு சப்போர்ட் பண்ணாங்க. அப்போ கூட சேர்மன் சார் தான் அன்றைக்கி கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 100 பேருக்கு ஒரு லோன் வந்து கொடுத்தாங்க, 100 பேர் ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு. அடுத்து இந்தியன் பேங்க் ரீஜனல் மேனேஜர் வந்து கேசிசி ஒரு 200 ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு கொடுத்தாங்க. 4% கேசிசி கார்டு வந்து கொடுத்து கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு சிங்கிள் ஃபார்மர்ஸுக்கு 30,000 அந்த ஏக்கரேஜை பொறுத்தளவில் கொடுத்தாங்க. கிட்ட 2.25 லட்சம் வரைக்குமே கொடுத்தாங்க ஒரு ஃபார்மர்ஸ்க்கு, அந்த மாதிரி கொடுத்தாங்க. அதனால் இப்போ அடுத்து ஒவ்வொரு ஃபார்மர்ஸும் நிறைய பேங்கர்ஸ் வந்து உள்ளே வந்துருக்காங்க. இப்போது லேட்டஸ்ட்டாக வந்து ஃபெடரல் பேங்க் வந்து கேரளாவில் இருக்குது. அவங்க வந்து இன்ஸ்டன்ட் கேசிசின்னு சொல்லி ரிசர்வ் பேங்க் ஆஃப் இந்தியாவில் டெக்னாலஜி பேஸ் பண்ணி 10 நிமிஷத்தில் ஃபார்மர்ஸ் அக்கௌண்ட்டுக்கு லோன் ஏற்றுற மாதிரி ரிசர்வ் பேங்க் ஆஃப் இந்தியா அவங்களுக்கு கொடுத்துருக்காங்கன்னு சொல்லிட்டு எங்களோட வந்து பேசினாங்க. நீங்கள் இப்போ நல்ல ஃபார்மர்ஸ் நெட்வொர்க் வச்சுக்கிங்களால உங்களோட சேர்ந்து பண்ண நாங்கள் விருப்பப்படுறோம்னு சொல்லிட்டு கொச்சினில் போன வாரம் மீட்டிங் நடந்துச்சு, கூப்பிட்டுருந்தாங்க. அங்கே போய் பேசிட்டு ஒரு டெஸ்ட் இதுக்கு வந்து ஒரு 100 ஃபார்மர்ஸுக்கு வந்து இன்ஸ்டன்ட் கேசிசிஸ் வந்து ஸ்பாட்டில் ஒரு பட்டா இருந்தால் போதும், பட்டா வச்சுட்டு இது பண்ணிவிட்டு 10 நிமிஷத்தில் அவங்க ஃபார்மர்ஸ் அக்கௌண்ட்டுக்கு கிட்டத்தட்ட 1.65 வரைக்கும் மேக்ஸிமம் 1,65,000 வரைக்கும். அப்போ ஃபார்மர்ஸுக்கு வந்து அவங்களுக்கு வந்து ஒரு பேங்கிங் ஃபெசிலிட்டிஸ் வந்து இப்போ தான் பேங்க் எஸ்பிஐ வர்றாங்க. எஸ்பிஐயில் நிறைய ப்ராசஸ் அப்படின்னா ரொம்ப டிலே ஆனதுனால எஸ்பிஐ இன்னும் சப்போர்ட் கீழ் லெவலுக்கு எங்களுக்கு இன்னும் வரணும். அவங்களும் நீங்கள் எஸ்பிஐ லாட் ஆஃப் பேங்க்ஸ் உள்ளே வந்தால் தான் இந்த ஃபார்மர்ஸனுடைய நீடை வந்து ஈஸியாக ஃபுல் பண்ண. அதுக்கு தான் நான் அந்த ஜிபிஎஸ் டெக்னாலஜி ஏன் எப்போ அவங்க ரீபேமெண்ட்டில் ப்ராப்ளம் ஆகுதுன்னா, எல்லாமே ஹார்வெஸ்ட் பண்ணுற டேட்டில் ஏதாவது மழையோ நேச்சுரல் கலாமிட்டிஸ்லாம் பிரச்சனை ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா அது கட்ட முடியாத சூழ்நிலை ஆகிடுது. ஸோ அங்கே வந்து ஒரு இன்சூரன்ஸ் சேஃபாக பண்ணும்போது இப்போ நீங்கள் பிரதம மந்திரி பஜல் பீமா யோஜனா இருக்குது, ஆனால் அது ஒரு ரெவென்யூ வில்லேஜே பாதிச்சா தான் கொடுக்குறாங்க, என்டையர் போர்ட்ஃபோலியோவே பாதிச்சா தான் கொடுக்குறாங்க. பட் ஒரு இண்டிவிஜுவல் ஃபார்மர்ஸ் பாதிச்சா அது கிடைக்கிறது இல்லை. ஸோ மைக்ரோ லெவலில் ஜிபிஎஸ்ஸை பேஸ் பண்ணி இந்த சிஸ்டத்தை பண்ணி பேங்க்கோ என்டிஎஃப்சியோ லோன் கொடுக்கும்போது 2 பேருக்குமே சஸ்டைனபிளாக சேஃபாக இருக்கும் அப்படின்றது நாங்கள் அதை சீட்ஸ்லேருந்து நாங்கள் உங்கள்கிட்ட தெரியப்படுத்திக்கிறோம். அதனால் வந்து பேங்கிங்கும் இப்போ வர ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டாங்க, என்டிஎஃப்சியும் இப்போ வந்து இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் ரேட்டை சார் சொன்ன மாதிரி ஃபஸ்ட்டு 22% கொடுத்தவங்க இப்போ வந்து 14% கொடுக்குறாங்க. அது மாதிரி அவந்தியில் நாங்கள் கொஞ்சம் ஒரு கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரு 700 ஃபார்மர்ஸுக்கு வந்து டிஜிட்டல் இதில் வந்து கொடுத்தோம். அவந்தியில் வந்து இது ஒரு 3 years பேக் அப்போ வந்து கொடுத்தோம். அவங்க அப்போ தான் வந்து டெஸ்ட்டு மாடலில் இருந்தாங்க, அந்த இதை டெஸ்ட் பண்ணாங்க.
நன்றி பாண்டியன் சார். little bit Tamil, I know, so thank
thank
you. Now, it's very nice. So now time is there. So
Second one,
no, second thing, whether you are going to become God. Ultimately, like.
இல்லை சார், அரசியல் பொலிட்டிக்கல்லாம் ஒன்றும் இல்லை சார். எனக்கு வந்து இந்த வேலைகளை செய்கிறதுனால நபார்டு, கவர்மெண்ட் ஆர்கனைஸ், இது எஸ்எபிஎஸ்சி இவங்கெல்லாம் வந்து நீங்கள் இன்னும் வேறு வேறு டிஸ்ட்ரிக்டில் எப்பிஓ ஆரம்பிங்க அப்படின்னு எம்பேனல் பண்ணி கிட்டத்தட்ட இப்போது வரைக்கும் 99 எப்பிஓஸ் 56 ஃபார்மர்ஸை நான் மொபிலைஸ் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். இந்த பிளாட்ஃபார்ம் நெட்ஒர்க்கில் 56 ஃபார்மர்ஸை நெட்ஒர்க் பண்ணிக்கேன். ஒரு 150 ஃபார்மர்ஸினுடைய சன்னை செகண்ட் ஜென்ரேஷனுக்கு எம்ப்ளாய்மெண்ட்டை க்ரியேட் பண்ணியிருக்கோம். அது வந்து இன்னும் அடுத்து என்னுடைய எய்ம் வந்து 2025 1 லட்சம் ஃபார்மர்ஸை இந்த எப்பிஓ நெட்ஒர்க்கில் கொண்டு வந்து ஒவ்வொரு ஃபார்மர்ஸினுடைய சன்னுக்கும் அவங்களுடைய செகண்ட் ஜென்ரேஷனை அவங்களுக்கு எம்ப்ளாய்மெண்ட்டை க்ரியேட் பண்ணுறது தான் அடுத்த விஷனாக நாங்கள் நினைக்கிறோம்.
Thank you. So, very nice on your part. Now, we have maybe a last question to Dhanalakshmi. There are many foundations, I think, in this hall that starting from DF. And we have ESG Foundation, Ramlinga Reddy is sitting from Hyderabad, and Dhanalakshmi from Bayer Foundation. Now, technology is there, and technology can be bought from off the shelf. And also there are many people who are pushing, as you are telling, actually there are hundreds of technologies, everybody wants that this is the best. But thing is, as chairman of NABARD, whenever I used to look, because every day actually at least 3 people used to come and demonstrate the technology to me. And somebody who was heading a $100 billion bank was getting confused. I don't think the farmer will have any kind of a wisdom to just choose which is the best and which is not. So now, what exactly is the role of the foundation, which you feel actually you are the interface between the technology pushers and the marketers and the ultimate one at the ground level, that is the farmer, because FPO are farmer. Really, how do you feel that the foundations have to work? And really, what is their role in the new context? Because now when that entire Indian agriculture is going to become a trillion dollar, multi-trillion dollar kind of a thing over a period of time, actually we read some kind of a thing where some people have to intervene and they have to be the enablers between the technology providers and the marketers and the ultimate the producer or the customer, whatever be the thing. The farmer is both actually. Now that is where actually I want you to reflect actually what exactly is the one which you would like to look into it.
Thank you, sir, for the question. As you rightly said, I think one of the biggest gaps that we have also identified during our journey with the FPOs is how is it that we can get the technology to the field level? That is one of the biggest questions that we need to answer. And I think it is here that it's not just the corporate foundations or the CSR units, but every player in the ecosystem. It could be, the scientists sitting in the agriculture universities, or it could be the tech providers themselves. We all need to come together as a unit to do the trainings. So what, at least from our experience, what we believe is if we build a first level of trainers, or if we build a master trainers who will be the extension workers or who can transmit the message, the last mile delivery. So we need to capacitate and build that kind of a resource pool. I think that will be a very key piece in, how we can bring the technology to the farmers itself and how we can enable them to utilize some of these technologies. And I really like what Mr. Ram said, in terms of every farmer is different. India is such a huge country, diverse crops, diverse terrains. The needs of the farmers are very different. So I think we also need to consider the needs of the farmers while the technologies are being built and then transmit or translate those technologies to the field. So I would say at a first level, we need to create a pool of master trainers, and these master trainers can then go and capacitate the farmers. And we also believe that an FPO model is easier to handle because at the FPO level itself, there are many Pandyans that, we can develop in the country. There are many progressive farmers that we have seen who are able to understand some of these technologies. So can we identify such progressive farmers? Can we identify such key people who will be the early adopters of technology and then use these early adopters, train them to a very good extent, and then they can carry the message forward to the last mile?
Thank you. So now we have spent more than, you want to have? Yeah.
Just wanted to, because in this hall, actually, we have nice success stories like Samunnati, Vekul, and a fair amount of other initiatives. And from my experience of interacting with around 5 lakh farmers, a lot of startups are sitting here. I just want to tell 2 points, particularly from the technology adoption and technology side. Price discovery is the biggest problem for the farmer, because he should know the price before he want to sell. When the material is with him and when the material is not harvested. So I would like to encourage any startup or any innovation happening from tech side, because that is where the price discovery will be a big thing, because otherwise once that guy goes into a mandi, he's drained because he's waiting in the queue for 3 days. Wife and husband sitting on a tractor, making roti dal and waiting for his turn for the auction. By the time he is gone. So whatever auction takes place, he has to accept it. So that is why price discovery is a very important thing. And in today's tech strength, we need to put in as many factors as possible into the algorithm and come out with crop-wise price discovery. That will help a lot, and it's a big opportunity, number one. Number two, again for the same crowd I'm telling, right? When we are talking about moving up the value chain, no denying in that, because one has to mark up and one need to actually get the raw material into at least 10 multiplier, 20 multiplier markup. There is absolutely no denying that. So the agriculture has to move up the value chain. But what I'm saying is, you stand there and there is a huge need for moving down the value chain. Because unless this happens, moving up the value chain will happen in bits and pieces. So when we are talking about moving down the value chain, it involves farming, it involves aggregation, it involves planning of the crop. Because as a country, we are more or less at a broad level, we are at an aggregation of the produce. But the moment we need to go to the next level of organizing the crop, we haven't yet reached there, but initiatives like what Vekul is doing, very, very, very encouraging. See, that is what, when we organize the crop, so that is why move down the value chain also is very, very important. And the last point, in the earlier panel, there was a discussion about quality. From my experience of interacting with so many farmers, what I tell is, quality is not in farmer's hands. Because he is fighting with so many unpredictable things, soil, weather, when he is putting the fertilizer, what is the soil temperature, and like that, and his economic status. Even in a village, if there are 100 farmers, all 100 farmers, even if the same crop, the quality is different because their ability is different. Their awareness about the knowledge of the crop is different. His economic status is different because he has already put in his Mangal Sutra of his wife into the bank. So he don't have any working capital. So what we need to look at is farmer produces whatever he produces. So any agri intervention from a company side or from a startup side, so we need to be prepared to buy A, B, C, A grade, B grade, C grade. If you say, I only want to buy A, again he is at the mercy of B and C. So we need to look at from that perspective, and here also a lot of technology can play a role of assessing these ABCs and help the farmer. Thank you.
Thank you. So, fantastic. And thanks to DF, actually, we had spent close to 1 hour, 10 minutes in this panel. And probably everybody might have thought at the beginning that technology means we will talk only about the computer-related kind of thing. But thing is, as I told that now the agriculture has been categorized at the atomic level into 15 subcategories. where the technologies are there. The first technology is then the agriculture biotechnology itself. Actually, there are so many plant-based proteins, insect-based proteins, and cellular cultures. So many things are happening. The next one is the agri-business marketplaces, actually where quite a lot of things are happening, creating agri-stacks and all those things. The third one is the bioenergy and biomaterials. Actually, quite a lot of things are happening. And we are, because many startups may be working, but thing is really we should do really how in the value chain it's going to affect. The next one is that farm management software, sensing, and IoT. These are the technologies which will directly reflect on the farmer's productivity and also really how we're doing. Then the next, very important, farm robotics, mechanization, and equipment. Actually, this is where actually India is placed in a very difficult spot. In US, actually, you have big farms, you have big machinery, and actually now if you see that there are apple harvesting machines, that as per that some machine will go and pluck each and every fruit, but thing is you cannot have such kind of a things. We need to have, like, I have seen something like e-bull, electric bull kind of a thing where it does the kind of a weeding, so now we should do it. Then the next one is that midstream technologies like food traceability, logistics, transport, processing technologies. Everywhere actually there is a requirement of streamlining it and making maybe it is much more transparent. Then the next one is the novel farming technologies like indoor farms, aquaculture, insect and algae production. Now actually I had seen recently in one of the things when I was attending that Thai Global Conference, there is one technology where they are producing from the waste, that is the shit of the poultry, this thing, they are producing protein, and this protein actually they are making into two components. One is the protein powder, which goes into the food chain of the maybe animals, but there is a protein that is the wax from that insects, which is going into the cosmetics, and the value addition is very high, and it is solving the problem of the fly menace in this one. Actually now quite a lot of innovations are happening, which many of us are not even aware of it. Then the next one is miscellaneous like the fintech for farmers. Actually now quite a lot of things are happening because now fintech is the one which has really eased. As Ram was telling that thanks to fintech, you are able to transact business even in the midnight, and that is where actually the transparency has come. Then the next one is that in-store retails and restaurant tech like self-stacking robots, 3D food processing, and the POS machines and so on. Then the restaurant marketplaces like Swiggy and Zomato, they're really depending on the technology, and which is either good or bad. Actually, many people are becoming obese. This is the very common kind of a refrain. People say that who are taking this fast food. And the next one is e-groceries has become a fabled one, and people are getting quite a lot of a benefit. Then I have seen that somebody is coming out with so many things like the home and cooking technologies. And the next one is meal kits and other things. And the last one is the crowd retail infrastructure. Now actually, this is how the technologies, various kind of a forays are happening with regard to the technology. And if you look into the entire gamut of really what is there in this entire agriculture chain, actually we require so much of an intervention, so much of an infusion of technology, and at the same time that value chain financing, because one of the studies conducted by NABARD and SBI together, actually we found that the first or second year of maybe after doing that report, we say that the value chain requirement is close to around 10 lakh crores. Right now, actually, we are hardly giving any kind of a thing. Though actually we are giving 18 lakh crores as the agricultural credit, which is only for the production process. But what about the value chain? Actually, nobody was talking about. So that is where, despite the PSL guidelines giving such kind of a clear-cut guidelines to the bankers, still very little has been done. And with all the kinds of maybe enthusiasm, bankers are still actually they are bound by the rules, but at the same time, there is a requirement of creating new credit products, and that is also the banking technology has to undergo a kind of a change. So now, with this, I feel that we are maybe a little shade better than what when we have started this entire discussion. We got enriched so much with the collective wisdom of the people who are sitting on this dais, because if everybody is having 30 years, that means we are having 180 years of experience, which was reflected in the last 1 hour. And we did quite a lot of things, but at the same time, this is just a curtain raiser, and there should be a kind of a follow-up, and there should be a kind of a reflection and deep insight into really what more can be done and how the synergies can be brought among players. So with this, I thank you once again, and an angry man or a woman is a hungry man or woman is an angry man or woman. So I don't want to now stay in between you and the food. And I think, I don't know, the next one is probably Arvind is going to wrap it up. So I invite Arvind to come. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful panel discussion. Now I request Dr. Arvind Chinchure. Yeah, from there on.
Because I don't want to create more anger now. So, ಮಧ್ಯಾಹ್ನ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಊಟ, ಹಸುವು. I will not take more than 2 minutes, though I had allocated 10 minutes, being conscious. We did this event because as a foundation, we are a learning organization. We wanted to listen to you. Listen to all the players of the ecosystem, including banking. So we heard everyone, whether entrepreneur, to industry, to foundation, to FPO, to farmer, to bankers. The second agenda we had was to learn. In fact, if I look at last 4 hours, I think there were 18 speakers, 18 master classes. And we learned ideas, insights, innovations, and many, many more things. The last, we want to leverage this event because we want to multiply impact. And impact will multiplication happens when we work together. We want to leverage your experience, expertise, and everything that we have. And this is not going to be a transactional event. So that's the third. So what next? In the afternoon, after the lunch, we will showcase 12 plus startups. Please spend some time with the startup because they are the greatest innovators. We have investors, and there will be a showcase and a dialogue. The last one, before we grab lunch, is that I think most of you expressed the importance of a value addition. Very soon, we are going to launch a new program called Integrated Food Cluster in North Karnataka, where we are going to have value addition in the entire value chain of agri-produce. On the 3rd of February, we are going to do this roundtable. I invite all of you to join this. So with this, I know I don't want to take more time, but thank you very much for your patience and staying, and sorry for keeping you hungry because you were hungry for the knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arvind. And I request the audience to use the staircase in the first floor because the lunch has been arranged in the 3rd floor. Yeah. Thank you.
Do you want to get into management consulting? Do you want to work at or any other?
वराहरूपं देववरीतं परस्मितवदनं वज्रदन्तधर रक्षाकवचम् ಶಿವಸಂಭೂತ ಭುವಿ ಸಂಜಾತ ನಂಬಿದವಗಿಂಬು ಕೊಡುವವ ನೀತ ಸಾವಿರ ದೈವದ ಮನ ಸಂಪ್ರೀತ ಬೇಡುತ್ತ ನಿಂದೆವು ಆರಾಧಿಸುತ್ತ Bye.